work with Louis C.K.?
Never.
Never?
No. 20 years ago. I met Louis 20 years ago in Seattle.
Did you guys speak Spanish? Because, you know, he was raised in Mexico.
Louis C.K.?
Yeah, this is his first language, Spanish.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching his show and really impressed about his writing.
His writing has always been money.
Yeah.
His writing has always been money. Hit it. We'll talk about this in the show. Yeah.
This show is presented by Onnit. Bidets are back. The Church of What's Happening Now was proud to introduce you to HelloTushy.com. HelloTushy.com makes portable devices that spray your butt clean with water. Go to HelloTushy.com/church right now to get 10% off. It was the thing I miss most when I'm away from home. It's the first thing I do when I get home. HelloTushy.com/church. Show is also brought to you by MeUndies. Go to MeUndies.com/Joey to get 20% off of your first order with free shipping in the U.S. and Canada off of all their comfortable underwear, t-shirts, socks, and more. MeUndies.com/Joey.
Oh, shit. And you thought you were doing the ride without your Uncle Joey. Fuck no! Happy Thanksgiving to you, cocksuckers. Lee Syatt, my little Goomba, and my main man, Rudy Sarzo, in studio.
Yo!
November the 22nd. Kick that mule, Lee. Down, take it down, take it down, take it down. All alone. Go. Oh shit. Oh shit. What's up, Papa?
Who was that? That's a cool bass riff.
That's a old, like a 10, 12, 15 years ago. What's the name of the band again?
Cake.
And they have a couple great albums. Somebody left and there was a problem, but I went to see him with Felipe a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
At one of these clubs on Sunset, the big one, at the theater. And they were great. They were great. So, what's up, Papa?
Oh, just hanging.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And you too. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Hey, you were telling the story here when you played the Palladium that night that you went from sleeping on the floor to being at the Plaza and shit.
Yeah, because
That's
Sharon was not only the manager for the band, but she was tour managing, and she had to stay. And everybody stayed together. It wasn't like Ozzy and Sharon stayed in some posh hotel and then the band stayed at the Motel 6. No, everybody went wherever they went. We went. We traveled in the bus together. Everything. As a matter of fact, I was staying with them in Sharon's family's home in Benedict Canyon. So I while I was in the band, I was with them like 24/7 for from 1981 to the end of '82. So getting to the story is, we were going to play the Palladium the following day. We just drove in from, I think we're in Binghamton or somewhere like that, about a couple hours away. So we drove in tour bus. We got to the venue. We got to the plaza, and I got off the bus, and I check in, and the guy throws me a key. I went into my room, and there was somebody asleep. So I went back down to the guy and say, "Hey, listen, I need another key." And so he says, "Okay." He gives me the key. I go up to the room, and the room is a mess. The beds weren't made or anything. So I went back down again. I said, "Look, I have to get up early. We're doing a lot of press. We got the gig. I just finished doing a gig. I'm knackered. I'm tired." So he says, "Okay, I'm going to give you this room, but you better check out, tomorrow." I said, "Okay." I didn't care. So I went to the room, and I realized I'm staying at one of the suites. They have like the special suites on each corner. So it's like, you have like a quarter of the whole building, to yourself. And it was just, this is 1981. I don't know if things have changed now, but that's the way it was back then. And it was just, I couldn't go to sleep. Because here I am, and I'm thinking, wow, maybe this is one of these suites where the Beatles stayed when they came and played Ed Sullivan. So I was like having all these weird, thoughts, and I'm like rolling on the floor naked and shit, and so I went to the bathroom and I sat on the toilet and realized that the toilet that my ass was facing, there was a big window, so my ass was facing the park, Central Park.
Well, who could see you on the fucking 18th floor?
Yeah, but yeah, it was like 4:00 in the morning. Yeah, by the time that that I'm doing all this, and it's like, I figure nobody's doing. But it was nuts, because just a few weeks before that I was sleeping on the floor in Kevin DeBro's apartment. So this was like, man, this is total insanity.
And Kevin was living here at the time.
And yeah, it was right off Coldwater and Riverside.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how long have you been walking these valley fucking streets?
Oh man, the valley. Now I love the valley. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but to be in the valley back in the 70s was kind of like excommunicated from rock and roll, because when I first got to LA in 76, 77, I was living right off the strip, right off Holloway, and where Holloway and Sunset meet. Right there, there's a little street right there, Palm. And I was living there, so I would walk everywhere. Across the street was Tower Records, and you have the Old World. And I was working at a place called McNaturals, which was a fast food, health food place. And we were making veggie burgers. I can make a kick-ass veggie burger. I still remember how to make those. And a couple of blocks, one block down was Filthy McNasty's, which now is the Viper Room. Yeah. And then another block is where that's where the whiskey is, and then beyond that, of course, you got Gazzari's and you got the Roxy and the Rainbow and all that. So I was living in the heart of it.
Now, what were you doing in the daytime? Working, and then at night you go to all those clubs?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would put my hair in a ponytail, stick it inside my shirt, and I would work at McNaturals. Then they would give me the key and say, okay, you lock it up and, mop up the floor and whatever. So the kids on the way to the whiskey to catch Quiet Riot, they would stop by, order their burgers, their smoothies, yogurt, whatever. I would take care of them. Then I would pack it up, grab my bass, and walk all the way to the whiskey to do the gig. Very humbling experience.
Now, okay, so you're in Quiet Riot. What were the other bands in the neighborhood then that you
were? The bands?
Who was out from them?
Everybody that got signed in the 80s, man. You had like Motley Crue at the time. They were called London. It was Nicky's band, London, and you had like The Boys, which is basically. George Lynch was in the band, and then you had Dokken, like a version of Dokken running around. You had Great White.
Cinderella?
No, not Cinderella.
No.
Cinderella is East Coast.
East Coast. They're Bon Jovi's boys.
Yeah. So basically, we're talking about the West Coast Sunset Strip scene. Just about everybody that got signed in the early '80s was still knocking around in the late '70s.
Van Halen?
Van Halen already gotten signed. They were already kicking ass out there. They were actually the last rock band to get signed out of the LA scene before they shut the doors and to rock and roll and start signing.
Oh, that's right. Van Halen was around from '78.
Yeah. Oh, that.
78.
Yeah.
I'm thinking fucking toward it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they were out before that. Yeah. They were signed. Yeah.
So it was Crew.
Yeah.
Quiet Riot.
Well, it was called London.
London.
Yeah. Became the Crew after that. Yeah.
And then Guns N' Roses came later.
Years later. Much later. Yeah. I was doing a band with Tracy Guns, so I was getting my education of what happened around the early '80s, because right now I'm talking late '70s. By '81, I was out of that scene. Even though I started, I came back to what is known as the Mental Health Quiet Riot. I really didn't gig around town because I was playing with Ozzy. I went from Ozzy to that band. We made Mental Health, the record, then we went on tour. So it wasn't like I was again, beating the sidewalks, going from the Whiskey to the Gazaris and the Roxy and all of that. No, I didn't do that. We released the record, and that same week in March of 1983, we did 4 shows on 2 nights at the Roxy. And that was basically in addition to Perkins Palace, which is not really considered a strip show because Perkins Palace was in Pasadena, Glendale, around there. We did a show there for Rock and Roll Tonight. That TV show they had, that they had on Friday nights. Yeah. And outside of that, let's say when we played when Quiet Riot played at the Oz Festival, that was like the only other LA area show that we did. We weren't really once the album Metal Health was recorded, we were not a local band anymore.
So when the Oz Festival came, that was 83, correct?
Yeah, 83.
You played with Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got proof.
No. I'm just thinking
I got
about
videos.
No. I'm just thinking about the Ozzy situation.
Yeah.
Where was it by that time? By that
point? I left Ozzy right after I finished recording Speak of the Devil, the Black Sabbath re-recordings at the Ritz in New York. I left the band. Yeah. And finished the Mental Health record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stuck around that long after Randy passed?
Yeah. I had a commitment. I had to finish, the tours, and we had this recording of Speak of the Devil to fulfill. I wasn't about to walk out on them.
Who was playing the guitar on Speak of the Devil?
Brett Gillis.
So he did do
Speak of the Devil. Yes.
And then after that, who replaced him? Like Vivian
Jakey
Campbell?
Lee.
Jakey Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Right around Speak of the Devil was where that was it. That was it for me. I just went into a different fucking zone in my life. I remember having Speak of the Devil, but that was it. It wasn't, I think I was done with Diary of a Madman.
Mm-hmm.
After Diary of a Madman, I went out. I became my own fucking madman. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have time to listen to
How old
music.
were you then?
Like I was saying, when all this went down with you guys, when everything went down, like I grew up listening to Spanish music. Okay, like when I was in 1971, I saw that movie about the Fonny All-Stars and my head exploded. I never, ever, ever liked rock music. Like when I was growing up, I always thought, son un bonche sucio, compadre. Con pelo largo, son pelú, all that shit. You're raised a certain way if somebody has long hair, know. So early on, I started listening to like the Fonny All-Stars, Celia Cruz, that shit. Like I would go to kids' houses and they'd be listening to some shit, and I'm going like, hold on, let's play this shit. And their parents would come in the room. You can't play this music in our house, shit like that. Like I was always 2-3 years ahead of the other kids. There was a kid who came into the podcast once that I grew up with that said, he says, I still remember you bringing Richard Pryor into my house and our parents catching us, and you weren't allowed in the house anymore. I was always one of those dudes. Like my music was 3 years ahead of what everybody else was listening to. But when I moved to Jersey, that's when I first heard Peter Frampton. Frampton Comes Alive. And I was like, wait a second, there might be something there. Maybe I'm being stupid. And then Neil Young, Crazy Horse. And I was like, that's okay. I think Neil Young has short hair. I can live with that. If he's got long hair, then I really can't run with him and shit. You know what I'm saying? But then I got Led Zeppelin. Something by Led Zeppelin made me blow, and then that was it. And then I went to my friend's house, and I don't think we were smoking pot yet, but he played Tomorrow's Dream by Black Sabbath, and that fucked my world up. I was like, I don't know about that music, but that shit was good. And I had Deep Purple, When We Rock, We Rock, When We Roll, We Roll. Yeah. I started dabbling in it. And one day we were doing something, and I had to walk home, and bam, what do I see? This place isn't even there no more on Bergenline Avenue and 79th Street. It was like a little corner store next to where not Kentucky Fried Chicken, Don't Cook Tonight, called Chicken Delight. It was right next door to it, and it was the cover to Sabotage. And I said, what a weird fucking album cover. Let me buy that thing. And I took it home, and I heard the thrill of it all, and I was done. Then I heard Hole in the Sky, Megalomania, and I was done. I was like, what the fuck is this? I got to start smoking some marijuana now.
Oh, wait a minute. You weren't smoking then?
No. I was dabbling in it. I would go out once a month with my friends and take a hit off a joint and put Visine in my eyes and cologne in my mouth and, the whole fucking thing. I didn't know it was for music. And then I started getting into Sabbath. Not really. I started getting into Sabotage a little bit. And then I bought the second one, War Pigs, Paranoid.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was going down to Jersey Shore for a rendezvous with my friend Stinky and John Bender. And everybody had to donate something. So he brought the cold cuts, I brought the weed and the music. And I brought the first Black Sabbath down there. And it was just fucking blowing our mind. John Bender didn't like music. He would drink and pass out. But me and the other guy was sitting there, and then...
What would you do? Would you just sit there and like
a retard?
Just sit there and like bounce your
Yeah,
head?
I didn't play air guitar. I didn't bounce around. I would just sit there blown away by the lyrics. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, man. It's really weird, I think, when you're Spanish and you hear American, a certain type of American, it makes you go crazy. Like, it just impressed me. Like, when I first heard Richard Pryor, Rudy, I lost my mind. I came from a house where they cursed and shit in Spanish, but I never heard nobody curse like that in that context. You know what I'm saying? Like, that had blown my mind. So when I heard Led Zeppelin, like, I wasn't a Beatle dude growing up. Fuck that noise. I was from a part of Jersey that you got to be a Sinatra dude. Like, the part of Jersey I'm from, Sinatra smacked the shit out of fucking Bruce Springsteen. I don't know nothing about Bruce Springsteen. But I started going to concerts. I went to see Aerosmith with Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent was great. Aerosmith was god-awful, Rudy. God-awful. 77, god-awful. Heroined up. They broke the guitars. Hipanao. Si no sirven, compadre. Why are you breaking the fucking amps for? You guys need more practice than I've ever seen in my life before. But I loved it. Again, I had rocks.
Yeah.
I had rocks, and I'm like, God damn, this is a good album. Yeah. And then my buddy talked me into going. He goes, Black Sabbath is playing. And I was a freshman in high school. It was Black Sabbath with Van Halen. And in those days, you didn't go for the warm-up act. You knew to get there at 8:30. Like, we ain't going for the fucking warm-up act. But the rumor was to make sure you went for the warm-up act. And we saw it in front of us. Bill Ward was breaking apart, doing blow. Ozzy was fat. He had a gut. He had a bottle of vodka up on stage. It just wasn't there. You didn't have to be a music critic to know something's not right here. You know? At that time, I'd gone to 6 concerts, maybe. I didn't know nothing about music that much. And then they broke up. But I liked Never Say Die. And they had done something on Don Kirshner's or the other one that was really good for Never Say Die. And I liked it. So I liked Never Say Die. And they broke up. But I started getting more and more into Ozzy. And then, like my 16th, after my mother died, that February, I went down to 22nd Street and New York Avenue. And I bought a $10 bag of THC Crystal, which was basically fucking Gorilla Biscuits, a.k.a. Angel Dust, Animal Tranquilizers, me and this other dude. And I went and bought fucking Master Reality on the way home. And I went home. I was living in my friend's house. He was out on a date. I locked the room. I put Master Reality on, and The Exorcist was on. And I put The Exorcist on with no volume, listening to Master Reality on that fucking Gorilla Biscuits. And Rudy Sarzo, I thought my heart was going to blow up. So I just turned off the TV and never listened to Master Reality till about 8 years later, dog. If I went to a party, you put Master Reality on, I'd leave. It's like when I hear the music from Star Trek, I have a heart attack. That in the beginning of Star Trek, I got to leave the room. The old Star Trek, the original, I don't like that music. That music's...
What don't you like about it?
I don't know. It just scares the shit out of me, all right? I don't know what it is about the beginning of Star Trek. It fucks my world up.
Oh, my God. How old were you when they came out?
Who?
You. The Star Wars movies.
I have no fucking idea. Star Trek, not Star Wars, you fuck.
Oh, Star Trek. Oh, okay.
The TV show.
Oh, okay.
But when Ozzy, that whole thing blew up, my mother had died. I was out every day partying with my friends, and I used to hang out with a dude named John Crowley. What a fucking small world. And John Crowley, listen, we were at a movie theater once in Fairview. You know what Fairview is? Yeah. When we were kids, there was a Carvel there, and there was a double movie theater. And every Saturday night, they played the Rocky Horror Picture Show and a concert movie. Neil Young, The Song Remains the Same, ba ba ba, ba ba ba, whatever. We went there once, and there was a line for The Song Remains the Same, or whatever the fuck we were going to go see. I go, John, we got to cut this line. John goes, let me do it. When we walked to the door, there was an ice cream cone that somebody was eating, that they put it upside down and had ants on it and shit, and it was already melting. This motherfucker picked up the ice cream cone with the ants on it, and in the front of the line started eating the ice cream cone. They let him cut in. Nobody said 2 words to him. You understand me? We get into the movie theater, and before the movie's about to start, I go, John, go up to the front there and talk to these people. Tell them what's going on here. Rudy, he would do it. He would get up and go to the fucking front of the movie theater and say, can I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen? And we'd be in the back, oh yeah, howling. Nobody did what the balls this kid did. We went to a party one time, nice white people, family, and I said, Rudy, get a chair. Crowley, get a chair. They had a chandelier. He fucking got a chair, and he stood up on the thing, and he pushed up the chandelier. I don't know how he did it. Another time we're going down the Jersey Turnpike in a truck, and he tied a string around his dick and played with his dick the whole way down Route 3. People were fucking swerving from how high they were laughing. John Crowley was crazy. So at this time in my life, I hung out with John Crowley for entertainment purposes. John Crowley would take his dick out. He'd chase women naked. Whatever mission you gave to Crowley when he had 3 beers in him and a couple hits of wheat reefer, so I'm at the end. You know what he does today? He writes children's books. He hit me up on MySpace about 10 years ago. Dog, you got to help me in Hollywood. Yeah. I got these books. I can't sell them. I did the original music. Now, Crowley, you're fucking crazy. When that song, Mr. Crowley, came out, that was adding gasoline to the fuel. That was it. He loved Ozzy Osbourne. So by him singing Mr. Crowley, so I wasn't at the Palladium show with him. The other show, there was 2 shows, like you said, they threw him out because he took his ID and went up backstage. And he said, he's singing about me. Let me in there. I got to talk to him. And they escorted him out. And that was the end of John Crowley. That's a true fucking story, dog. John Crowley. So he thought Mr. Crowley was about him. So he was crazy all along. And a state champion wrestler. He was crazy all along. Now Ozzy threw the kiss of death on him. So everywhere he went, people would sing to him, Mr. Crowley. He said, well, be on my local, compadre. It was fucking crazy what I went through with that kid for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that reminds me how insane our audience was.
Insane!
The bat.
The bat threw it right the fuck over.
And it was a real bat. We thought, hey, it's a toy bat, rubber. That's why he put it in his mouth, It was a real freaking bat. One time we were doing a show in Lubbock, and this is in Lubbock, Texas. This is right after he pissed on the Alamo. So we were like on the lookout because the Daughters of the Revolution and Texas militia were threatening Ozzy to shoot him on stage. So we kept, every time he would walk, during the show on stage, he would walk over towards us. We would like run away from him because I don't want to get shot, because we thought we was going to get shot on stage, right? So I'm doing the gig and I'm like looking around. I was like really, aware of everything that was going on. It wasn't about getting into the music anymore. It was all about surviving the show, not dying on stage. And I see this frog. I thought somebody was throwing a baby at me on stage. No, it was actually a bullfrog. Huge bullfrog. It just landed right in front of me. Upside down with his arms spread open and legs, I freaked. First, because in the dark, you don't know what it is. So you look around and, it's a freaking frog. I thought somebody threw their kid on stage, They used to, I show up with freshly slaughtered heads of cattle, trying to get into the gig with that. And of course, they wouldn't let him. So, our road crew would take Polaroids and bring him backstage and say, oh, check this out. Check what this, idiot was trying to bring it into the show.
But people were still sneaking shit in because somebody threw a bat on stage somewhere. And
Yeah,
he
the
bit
bat.
it.
Yeah,
And
but
he got rabies. Algo le pasó. What
yeah,
the fuck?
Yeah, the head of the cow.
It's completely fucking
it's
different.
too big, with horns and blood dripping and shit. But then of course, we used to have the dwarf, the little person, John, that was part of our stage, presentation for the Diary of a Madman tour. So he had a bucket that he would drag across the stage while we were playing Paranoid, the last song of the set. And they would put anything in that bucket, anything that was leftover food from the from dinner crew meal. They would stick it in that bucket, and then the dwarf will go across the stage, throwing it at the audience slowly, and whatever went into the audience, the second half of the song came towards the stage, and I got hit many times by pieces of liver, gizzards, tripes, you name it, And sometimes they would, if they didn't have enough deli, shit to put in that bucket, they would send somebody out to get some from the nearest supermarket. And a lot of times it didn't thaw out in time, so it would still be frozen. One time the John, the little person, he got knocked over by a piece of frozen liver that somebody threw back from the audience. He just knocked him over on stage, and they took him over to emergency and stitched him up right on his forehead. Oh yeah,
that's crazy because when I saw you in the Palladium, it was just 4 dudes on stage. But when I went to the Meadowlands to see you, when you guys came back in October, after Randy had passed, it was Brad Gillis, but now you had a fucking castle or some shit behind you. It was a different fucking show. And the crazy thing was, for all my Ozzy things, I always had good tickets, but when I got there, something happened that the ticket became better. That was the only show that I had to stay like where I was at. I was like in 12th row, so I didn't get hit by the fucking midget stuff. I didn't even know he was throwing. I don't even remember. That's how fucked up I was.
He was a little guy, so his throw was only like maybe 5 rows, because you got the pit and you got the rows, But you would see everybody ducking right in front of you, you would see like the horrified faces of people going like ah, and they would duck every time he would throw something out in the audience. Yeah.
Now again, in 1970-something, some fucking moron went on David Letterman and ate a bicycle.
What?
Oh, he ate a bicycle or some shit. He ate a pedal. He did something and went on David Letterman and he ate una como pinguería. He ate something.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, circa 3 years later, I'm at this fucking party and this dude comes down. We played hooky and we ended up at his house, and this dude comes down and he before that, I'm going forward. The one party we went to, he took a gun out. His father was a cop, and he took a gun out. He brought it down. He started playing Russian roulette.
Oh, Jesus.
And we all got up and left. We were like, this is how crazy. Bro, I grew up in northern New Jersey with white dudes that were the real deal, and each one wanted to outdo each other. So the second time we went over there was the dead of the winter. And we went to his house. John, don't put the gun out there. All right, I promise. In those days, we rob a beer truck from Kennedy Boulevard, and we bring the beer to his house. And so we're like, I was way younger than John. I was a freshman when this happened. And I went over there one day, and his mother smoked in the patio. But they had a little French poodle, and he used to take those little shits. Little French poodle shits, but they wouldn't sweep it up. They would just freeze and stay out there to coño la madre, you know what I'm saying? So we would just have to go out there and kick out the little shits. And one time we're out there comiendo, we're talking shit, and he goes, how much would you damn it eat a piece of shit? And we're like, go ahead. He got like $7, and he picked up one of those French poodle pieces of shit and he ate it. So now this became an epidemic where I grew up. Now people were doing shit. Now my junior year in high school, 6 of those morons get dressed up as garbage. Tremendous. They got garbage cans, rubber garbage cans, cut the bottoms off. They put underwear on. They put suspenders to hold the garbage cans. And then they put a lid on their head. But to top it off, they took strings and they tied it to little mice tails. And then they took bags and they super glued it on their head, and they walked it in this Halloween party, each with 6 live mice. This is 1980. This is a year or 2 before Ozzy's biting shit off. These guys in the middle of the party pick up the mice and start eating the fucking mice live. Tails are in their mouths. A friend of mine whose birthday's today, Mike Runny, who I lived with after my mother died, grabbed one of the mice, popped it in his mouth, and was eating it, and you could see the tail. So they all started eating mice and this shit. So now my whole town is going crazy. People are eating shit. I went to another party one day, and there was a table with a hammer with glass. They were eating glass, these motherfuckers. These white fucks became crazy, and I loved them. I grew up with them. They were my brothers. What am I going to do? What now, fucking, what do you think happens? Ozzy's got to, because my town loved Ozzy Osbourne. My town was 60% Black Sabbath. This motherfucker got to go bite a fucking eagle's head off. And now my town's looking to fucking eat dogs and fucking cats and fucking... So Ozzy Osbourne fucked us up in more ways than one. That thing that I'm telling you about the mice, they not only did that, they did that in front of 100 people in a school auditorium on a Halloween party for the families. Girls were crying, teachers were running out. It was classic shit. Classic shit. They talked about it for years. Like they never again did they have that party. Like that was the end of that fucking party. So that's how much damage Ozzy Osbourne did. And then he put out Snowblind, which fucking sent you over again. You know what I'm saying? Thank God nobody paid attention to Suicide Solution. One kid, Steve Banchini, he went to the George Washington Bridge. He got a Carvel Sunday. He was blind. Steve Banchini would see you and he would say like quotes to you, like "Rolling thunder, power and rain. I'm coming on like a hurricane." That's a verse from the Satanic. I don't know if it's that one. He would pick any song and he'd start dropping knowledge on you. And one day he said, fuck it. He got an ice cream cup, ate it, took his glasses off, and he jumped off Suicide Bridge. He's like, oh, he didn't blame it on Ozzy Osbourne, on his family. The memories of Black Sabbath in my fucking youth.
Rudy, was that similar to your high school experience? Oh my God.
It was crazy.
No. My high school experience, all I wanted to do was to get laid. That was
Now this is all at Memorial? All 4 years?
1 year Memorial, and then I went down to Miami High.
Okay.
You know, and this is the 60s, and I was overweight in the 60s. So that was like a, you know, I might as well have had some kind of disease, you know. It wasn't like, not even getting laid. People, you know, chicks didn't want to hang out with me. Guys didn't want to hang out with me because the chicks didn't want to hang out with them because they're with this guy, you know, who's like maybe 50 pounds overweight, you know. And all it was is I was eating Cuban food. You know, my mom was making, you know, cooking with lard, eating a lot of rice, and I happened to be one of those guys who is carbo sensitive, is the politically correct.
Rice fucks you up.
Yeah, it does, you know, carbs, you know, yeah, it does. Still does, you know. But back then, I don't know. As a matter of fact, we were living in New Jersey, and my mom heard about this diet doctor. It happened to be one of those Dr. Feelgood type guys. I was going to Memorial High then. So my mom and dad take me to this guy in the city, and they put me in, you know, take me to a room, and it's kind of like I went through like separate tables. One of them took my blood pressure, the other one, you know, blood test and my weight, and then at the end they give me these bottles and say, okay, you take this one, you know, in the morning, then take this in the afternoon, then take this in the evening, blah blah blah, right? They were uppers and downers. Basically, I had no idea. My parents didn't know. They were just desperately trying to help me to cope with something that was socially unacceptable at the time. Now, nobody gives a shit, you know. But back then in the 60s, it was a whole, you know, Mad Men. There weren't even fat people in the whole show. I kept looking for one, you know, in Mad Men show, and I couldn't find a fat person because that's the way it was in the 60s, you know. And so I started taking these uppers and downers, and I was screwed, man. I would go to in the mornings. I would be like, you know, I was like a puppet running around, this chubby puppet in gym shorts, you know, at gym. You know, that we had early in the morning. We had the phys ed. Then in the afternoon, I was kind of like going down. They gave me another upper, and by the evening, it was the downers. So I couldn't do the homework. I couldn't function. I spent the whole day going up and down, you know. And so I told my mom, and she said, well, screw that. So she got me off that. But I gave it a shot.
How long did you stay on them for?
Maybe a week or so. It was terrible. Awful.
There was a doctor in West New York or Weehawken when I was a kid. I didn't like needles, so somebody came to me once and I go, if you're heavy, you go see this doctor. He gives you a couple shots and you lose 50 pounds. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? But then I have another friend of mine that got high one night. We were talking and she goes, my sister used to be 100 pounds overweight. She went to a doctor for treatment. He gave her a bunch of shots. So it's something that you got to pay a lot of money for. Who the fuck knows? Yeah, it was taboo in the 60s to be a little overweight.
Oh, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Girls still don't really like it. It's not like girls loved it now. And when I went to high school, it's always been terrible. I think I might be allergic. I went for allergy testing when I was really young, and I think I'm mildly allergic to wheat and all that stuff. So I probably should stop eating bread and all that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm gluten free now, and it's really helping with my allergies.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I just had a bunch of gluten in that box, but it's not something I eat every day. That's gonna go out.
What's
of my
gluten in that? Potato?
No, it's not the potato. It's all of the wheat, all the wheat stuff in it. Like oats and wheat and barley. Like if you drink beer, there's a lot of gluten in it. It's not for everybody. It just works for me. And I'm not a celiac neither. So, but
Have you seen Dean Del Rey lately?
Yeah, it's been a few months.
He looks beautiful.
Really?
He eliminated sugar from his diet.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that, you hear about all bullshit diets, but I think that right now, that's a popular one, and it's working for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I have another friend that got diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. Well, he looks beautiful. I just went home and saw him and gave him a hug. And he goes, all I did was eliminate 3 or 4 things from my diet. Sugar being the number one thing. And he goes, I'm stable, the treatment's taken, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm working out, I'm eating good. He goes, but that sugar, once you get to a certain age, it's not even good. And you'll see the difference immediately. Immediately. But sugar's in fucking everything, Rudy.
That period that I'm talking about, the 60s when I was overweight, going through a Cuban diet, everything had sugar in it. Everything. Everything that I consumed had sugar. And if it didn't, then you added the sugar. My parents, my mom still adds a lot of sugar to anything. Let's say if you have a café con leche over the counter and it's sweet already, it's ready to go. No, she's got to put a couple of more sugar, packets in it.
I always had I see it in my daughter now. I see the pickiness, or maybe everybody's children is picky with their diet. But I see the different shit she's attracted to. It's good. She likes pasta. She likes hot dogs. I give her Sabret hot dogs. I keep it in the family. She likes mac and cheese. My wife makes it fresh for her. At least it's not out of a fucking box. The school wants the little lunch cups, and it makes me go fucking crazy. But it's so weird how I was fine till I was around 10 or 11, Rudy. And then at 11, I got hooked on mateba with leche condensada.
Leche condensada,
and that's condensed milk, the shit that comes in a can. Cubans drink it with a soda called mateba. And mateba is very healthy for you, believe it or not. It's yerba mata or something like that. And it's made of these fucking herbs, and it's pretty fucking good for you, but not with 2 fingers of condensed milk every night before you go to bed. Like I did it I got addicted to it. I had to go home and do it every night, and I'd watch The Honeymooners and The Odd Couple, and it would zap me up. And then by 12:30, I'd nappy Nunu. And one day I was like 12 or 11 and a half, and I was fat as fuck. And and this was going to karate. Like I was a karate buff at that age. Like something had happened to my body, like drastically. And also I started playing basketball, and I started jerking off. And that shit went right off. And I got really, really skinny. And I was like, okay. So I went through a phase. It just didn't stick around. By the time I got to the 7th grade, it was gone.
Yeah.
It was right before what Cubans call a desarrollo.
Desarrollo,
It's called when you start getting hair and you start coming, and you start getting a deeper voice.
Yeah.
Right then, I
Puberty.
dropped 60 fucking pounds, and that stuff was gone.
Yeah.
I was playing basketball, and it didn't come back till I was 30 fucking 8 or some shit. 36 or something, till I moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the leche condensada, that was a staple in my family. We had that a can in the refrigerator.
Everybody has a can with aluminum foil on top of it.
And you just like
with 2 holes.
Yeah,
No, I would never
holes,
drink it. I would never drink it. I don't
well,
like
well, you could put it in a spoon too.
Yeah.
Just,
Jesus Christ. No.
Oh, you never did that?
No.
Oh, that's the best.
No.
That's the best. A pulso.
And what is it? And it tastes like what?
Tastes like heaven.
Sweet milk?
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's like caramel taste. Yeah, that's the way to go.
No. I wouldn't, and I don't like.
Oh, dulce de leche. Those little pastries. Dulce. It's the same thing. It's like a condensed milk, but into like a brownie. Y los tres leches. Those the postres. Desserts.
Yeah.
All of that.
See, I grew up with natilla.
Natilla.
Which is that'll kill you.
Yeah.
That'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
That's eggs, sugar, and butter whipped. Yeah. With cinnamon on top of it and more fucking sugar.
Yeah.
Flans. I'm a flan dude. I'm a natilla dude. My listen, my number one went with my mom. I never had it after she died. It's natilla with Entenmann's pound cake in that motherfucker. Yeah. And you let it get cold for a little while, and then you put the cinnamon when you pull it out. Come on now. Yeah. Come on now.
Merengue.
Merengue. I wasn't allowed to eat merengue. It's white. So it would get me sick. I'm not a merengue guy. I'm none of that. I'm a natilla dude. Pastelito. I like guayaba, but I don't like cream cheese.
Yeah.
I like cream cheese on my bagel with lox. I like cream cheese.
Yeah.
I just listen. Another way to get fat is guayaba with cream cheese. A cracker after every dinner. Whatever you eat for dinner, at the end of the dinner, buy yourself the long guayaba and get yourself a thing of Philadelphia cream cheese and get Cuban crack. If you want to gain weight, listen, if you're skinny as shit, I could hook you up right now. I got the diet for you right now. Rudy and I are going to talk about the Cuban diet, all right? The Cuban diet consists of you open up with not a cup of coffee or not a when you go to Starbucks. So what's the big one? The Grande. Listen, that Grande Cafe. That's what Cubans piss on their first piss. My mom had a tub. It was a metal tub. That's all she used for coffee. It had to be 20 ounces before anybody ever thought of drinking 20 ounces. But here's the weird thing. It was that shit that's really sweet.
Yeah.
That shit will kill you. People drink an ounce of that and see the devil. You follow me?
I did that every day.
Oh, God.
I did. I swear. I did. My breakfast was Nescafe. Which is instant coffee with one of those tumblers that you're talking about.
Right.
But this was a glass because I wanted to see the sugar that I would pour in it, kind of like, get to the bottom. It looked like an aquarium, when you have like the sand on the aquarium with the fish swimming, So it was kind of like that effect. So once it collected like around maybe half an inch of sugar in the bottom, then I stirred it. Then I would take bread, white bread, like Wonder Bread. And
no butter.
Oh wait, I'm getting to that.
You listen to
this is the time when they came out with the liquid butter,
squeezed butter,
squeezed butter. So I used to make like designs. I used to get get creative with it, making like little faces, and then I would fold it and dunk it, and until it went all the way down to the bottom, and then I was ready to go to school.
How much bread would you eat in that? Just one piece? A whole fucking loaf. So, Lee, a loaf of Cuban bread with butter, dipping it in your coffee like an animal, and in between the eats, drinking that same coffee because the butter stays into... Lee, 20 pounds in 1 week, guaranteed with the Cuban diet. That's the one division. Then the other division is the steak with the egg on it over rice. Cut up with the yolk melted over everything. That's pure disgust.
With lard.
Yeah. That's pure disgust. Yeah. The lunches I really like. I like the lunches. The lunches were I like an avocado salad with onions. Una ensalada aguacate. Yeah. Just avocado sliced thin with raw onions and vinegar and oil. I like that, Rudy. A little bit of
Yeah,
bread.
but that's the side dish.
That's a, oh yeah, that's an aperitif. You know, that's whatever. That's an opener. That's like the 5 stars we did today.
And my mom always had this theory that if you're gonna be asleep for at least 8 hours, you might starve. So you have to have una medianoche sandwich
I bought one for my wife today.
before you went to bed, just to keep you from starving to death
Can you
while you're
believe
sleeping.
that, Lee? And it's
yeah.
a little smaller Cuban sandwich on
Yeah.
a different type of bread.
Yeah, and a little pickle.
And a little pickle,
Yeah.
so your body doesn't work that hard. Because if you have a big meal, dog, it's ridiculous how fat I could be right now if I lived in Union City still. It's fucking crazy.
I wish I was Spanish of some sort. It was, you guys are amazing. Like,
You know,
that pork I got with Becky was amazing.
I might cry when I tell you this story. I might fucking break down because I've been holding it in for. I watched those 80 episodes of Celly, and I realized that I didn't lose my mother. I lost my mother and that world.
Yeah.
I lost my Cuban world.
Yeah.
I lost my Cuban world.
Yeah.
There's a big thing when you lose a world. I lost people's houses that I could walk into, and I trusted their food. I knew what they cooked. I knew what days they cooked it on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I knew Rudy's mom makes ropa on Thursday. I'm gonna call for Rudy, and even if Rudy's not home, she's gonna invite me in. Espera, Rudy. You know, I missed that whole thing, but I'm gonna tell you what I missed the most. And you don't know in your life what you have until you lose it. My mom was, what do you call those people from Cuba? She was a wahida that they made money. But her actions were wahida, but they were with all heart, which meant, Rudy, if you had to get up at 8 because you had to meet Randy and rehearse, my mother would walk in your house at 3 in the morning. Rudy, tiene hambre. Pero you know that, I got to get up at 8. Oh yeah, get up. They came over at 2 while you were sleeping and made fresh black beans and rice. You know, they cooked the goat. They got a few steaks, and they got un garbanzo de chorizo with whatever. And you used to be bothered. Like, why would you wake me up to do that? And you go downstairs, and there was Cubans laughing. They had Cuban music on. It's 3 in the morning. But to them, it's 2 in the afternoon. Everybody does this. Do you understand me? Yeah. Like, my mom used to come home from the bar. Some nights she was tired. She came home and gave me a kiss and went to sleep. But other nights, she'd bring 6 people over, and it was langota enchilada at 2 in the morning. So at 4, my house smelled like it was lunchtime. And she'd wake me up and go, Antonio, I cooked langota enchilada con arroz amarillo with yellow rice and fried bananas. There's people downstairs. And I'd walk into my kitchen at 4, and there'd be 6 people drinking beers, eating. She'd make like Cuban crackers with prosciutto on it and shit. And I go, Jesus Christ, her and my stepdad would have these parties at 3 in the morning. We called them comelata. And it just, Lee, this is not just a salami sandwich. This is somebody who comes home at 3 in the morning and makes a 4-course meal. One meal is enough. Like my stepfather's specialty was garbanzo frito. Let me tell you something. You know how many arguments I got with him over garbanzo frito? Hey, when are you going to make something different? Today, Rudy, right now, I would give this hand to have those garbanzo frito. The way he would put the chorizo in it, he would cook it in that clay thing. Lee, Jesus motherfucking Christ. He put it with some Frank's hot sauce. At any age, if my stepdad made that, my mom would let me drink alone, bro. You know what I'm saying? I can have alone, bro, but as long as you have garbanzo frito, langota enchilada, or during Lent, tamal en cazuela, when they put the little lobster meat in there, the little ham, whatever the fuck that was. Tocino. Yeah. Oh my God, Lee. You have how much weight does that put on you? Tamal en cazuela.
Imagínate.
It's that whole lifestyle. I really, after watching that show, it kicked my ass for a few weeks, Rudy. Because I realized what the fuck I lost. I lost a certain sense of humor. I lost a certain sense of speaking to people. When you're in that realm, I had my mom's bar where I could go in there and I could drop a couple of pingas, y me cago en coño tu madre. But the realm I hung out with, I had to walk in there and ask them for their blessing. That's something that I don't live in that world no more. Oye, Miss Sarzo, bendición, ¿estás Rudy? No, que Dios te bendiga, pero entra en mi casa. Get out. You know, that I was one of those guys, Rudy.
Trust. A lot of trust.
No. I was one of those guys that was raised religiously, Catholic, but in Cuban terms.
Yeah.
So when I came to your house, I would ask your dad for his blessing. Bendición, Mr. Sarzo. Rudy. ¿Cómo está, José Antonio? There was no Coco. Those people didn't call me Coco. That's what those other Cuban people called me. But the kids I hung out with, they were decent Cuban people. The people I grew up with, they gambled, they sold blow, they took numbers. They were nice people, but I was involved in two different worlds when I was a young kid. Those geeky kids I went to karate with from Union City, that's how you had to speak in their house. How those people in Celia talk. ¿Cómo está mi niño? You know, when you go, what do they say to you on the way out the door, those Cuban people? It's a fucking sermon. It's a fucking sermon on the way out the door. Rudy, if you take leave, protégemelo Dios, Dios me lo bendiga, que no te pase nada. It's a 5-minute, God bless you.
My mind still does that. It's like our goodbye is longer than our conversation.
Our conversation.
Yeah.
The goodbye and the God bless you, la regla, los caminos, you know, may God, and you're sitting there. That's the other world I grew up with that a lot of people don't know. I couldn't speak the way I did in front of my mom's friends. In fact, I had a family who threw me out of the house. Lourdes Ramos, her mother asked me to leave the house because I said to her, "You're single. You don't look too bad. Why don't you go out and get a husband?" She goes, "Nobody's ever spoken to me like that. Get out of the house." I was 12.
When did you say this to her? After, like, she gave you cookies?
In the sixth grade. In the 6th grade, I liked this little fucking Cuban girl.
Oh, my God.
So on Wednesdays, we used to I went to school in North Bergen, so on Wednesdays, we'd all walk to Union City to be part of a pottery class. If I wanted to get in with this girl, I had to go up there and make a fucking statue every week with like a bunch of black kids in Union City that would bust up from Jersey City. So it was me, Lourdes. It was this other Cuban girl, the Cuban girl I had a crush on, and a friend of mine would all go up there on Wednesdays and make figurines. And one day it was snowing or something, and Lourdes invited us up, and we went up. Lourdes was a cute Cuban girl, but she had a thick mustache. Even in the 6th grade, that motherfucker was yoked, Jack. It was like Lee's mustache in the 6th grade. But she was cuter than fuck, but nobody had the balls to tell her, "Lourdes, you got to bust out the Gillette." You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody had the balls. She lived on 26th Street and Kennedy Boulevard on the first floor. You couldn't break into a house unless you were a gymnast. It was one of those first floors. Like, it wasn't right there off of Kennedy Boulevard. But you could call for her. And in those days, nobody was having sex, guys. At least I wasn't. It was the farthest thing from my mind. I just wanted to hook up with this skinny girl and, like, make out with her. You know, in the 6th grade, to get in material, as they called it. You want to make out with them and hold hands. But I never dreamed about having sex with nobody in those days. And the one day I called for whatever, we all went over the house, and I'm looking, and the mom was banging. If Lourdes was 12, the mom must have been like 31, but on fire. Rudy, she was on fire. At that age, I looked at her, I'm like, boy, I see the wenches that go to my mom's bar. You do great at my mom's bar. You'd walk out there with 3 killers. What are you doing sitting at home every night with a Bible? I said, you're not looking too bad. You might as well go out there and shake it on Bergen Line Avenue. She told me to get out of that fucking house. And after that, I learned the 2 types of Cubans. You know, a couple of years ago, I still have a great Cuban friend who his family is in Pasadena. And I brought up Afro-Cuban music to the house for Christmas. Rudy, they almost had a heart attack. Rudy, they almost had a heart attack.
They don't like anything black?
There's 2 types of Cubans, man. Yeah. There's 2 types of Cubans. And that's the Cuban I'm talking about. I always had that crazy Cuban side. I could tell you, you know, I grew up a crazy fucking way. It was the kids I was involved with and how I had to behave in that circle. Those kids didn't get high. Those kids didn't even think about getting high. We used to all go to karate together, and we were geeky kids, and 3 of them were going to join the Marines. You know, those are the Cuban kids I grew up with. It's fucking crazy. God knows where they are now. There's one kid who still talks to me. He had a sex slave for 2 years. Me and him have been friends since the Bruce Lee days. His father fixed
Wait a minute. I'm still
Listen to
wrapping
me.
my head around
His
him
name
having
is
a sex
Pino.
slave.
His
Okay.
name is Pino. That's the only information
The
I
sex
can give
slave
you.
or your friend?
My friend, his name's Pino. I know Pino from Sacred Heart School for Boys because I went to Sacred Heart first, but then they put Pino in there first because Pino's father had an air conditioning business and he fixed my mother's air conditioning at the bar. Pino's father did a couple bumps. Everybody knew this, so me and Pino became friends. The front for Pino to hang out with his dad, he'd have to come to the bar. Me and Pino would shoot pool, play pinball, and go to Bruce Lee movies. But then me and Pino ended up in the same grammar school together. Me and Pino loved each other. And then me, Pino, and Uncle Mikey, like a retarded kid, he was like 19 when we were like 12. We'd let him hang out. He was a pervert that never made it, but he was a great kid, Mikey. He had a basement, and we could do karate down there. His mother would always yell at us, "Get the fuck out of there, you bunch of losers." You're never gonna amount to nothing, Mikey. It was me, Pino, Mikey. This is a different period in my life. We studied karate on 39th Street and Bergen Line at Fujao Pai Academy, above the Bottom of the Barrel and Carvel. Bottom of the Barrel, Lee, is a big-time, old-school mafia bar where Henry Hill hung out there. And the corner was Carvel, but what makes this better was down the corner was Club 38, okay? And next to him was Doctor Cortina, okay? But the secret about Club 38 was that it was owned by Willie Randy. Willie Randy, I told you this, his claim to fame was that his grandfather was the dude in Godfather 2 who had a big dick. You ever see Godfather? You don't remember?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
When he comes out, they take him to Cuba. When he finds out Fredo betrayed him, they're at a Cuban joint where the Cuban had a big dick.
Yeah.
Well, after that movie came out, Willie Vandy's claim to fame was that was his grandfather. And he had a big dick, too. So during the week, he had bands and salsa and merengue night. But on Saturdays, once a month, it was Willie Vandy. He would do a sex show in there by himself. He would pay off the cops. Nobody would show up.
We'll do it like a solo act, sex show.
I'm probably fucking 11 or 12.
Oh, God.
I know nothing about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm probably maybe 13, Rudy.
You're about to.
Okay, my stepfather era un boletero, which means he was a bookmaker.
Yeah.
And his office was on 57th and Hudson. That's the heart of the Cuban neighborhood. They had their Brindi. They had another Cuban bar. They had a florist shop. They had a butcher shop. These were all Cuban-born. These were all Cuban businesses, but they were really fronts for not drugs in those days, strictly numbers.
Was that Union City or West New York?
West New York.
So how far from Public School Number 5 or Memorial was that?
Right around the corner from Memorial.
Okay.
56 Memorial was right around the corner from this.
Yeah.
This is the heart of Cubanville.
Yeah.
There used to be a Cuban restaurant in the corner. The guy's sister, his name was Nivaldo, and his sister ran that. I mean, great Cuban sandwiches, great Cuban food.
Yeah, I live on Hudson Avenue.
Hudson Avenue was the heart of Cuba.
Yeah.
Brindi was on Café Loatita. That was a bar on 52nd Street, Cuban bookie joint. Then 57th Street was a Brindi. And then into 36th Street was another Cuban little neighborhood there. And the guy's name was Boyotrite. That means sad pussy. And he ran that bar there. So my stepdad lent money to this is hysterical. My stepdad lent money to Willie Vandy.
Él era un garrotero.
Right, when he lends money for points.
Yeah.
So one night I'm bitching about something because in those days I went to Catholic school and I would come home on Thursday nights and I always wanted to go to the movies, but I did something, I was punished. So part of the punishment, I got stuck with him. And he didn't like my mother's bar. He would go early, leave, and then come back. And sometimes he didn't come back. So one night he goes, come on, take a ride with me. Te compro un heladito ahí en ice cream. Vamos a cobrarle. Let's go charge the money from Willie Randy. And I don't know what's going on. Now, at this time, I knew Willie had a big dick. Once I found out he had a big dick, I didn't really was his friend no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm like 12. I don't want to be friends with a guy who's got a big dick. What? Yeah. I don't need that in my life.
Oh my God.
I take the ride to fucking 38th Street, and there was no parking. We were going to go get ice cream first, but there was no parking because that's Friday night, Saturday night, and that Bottom of the Barrel, that mafia joint was packed. So we had to park close to Club 38. There was parking. So Club 38 was on New York Avenue. So we're walking up, And we walk in there, you had to like knock a certain way, you know, like, and then somebody would knock back, and then you had to knock, and then they'd open the door. Coño, Juanito, ¿cómo está? Perdón. And they'd let you in. And I was like, 12, you know, whatever. And I walk in, and it's like a comedy show. There's like 250 people, and they're standing there with cups, and everybody's drinking, and they have like Cuban music on. Nobody's dancing. And all of a sudden, when I walk in with one, the lights drop. Right? The lights drop, and all of a sudden you hear like a little wawanko music, like it's not like like it was just beautiful. And all of a sudden they bring like this chick that doesn't want to be there, like she's like getting raped, but not really. No, déjame tranquila. No, you know vine para esto. And they tie her around the pole and shit, and she drops to her hands and knees. And then Willie would come out with a mask and like a cape and shit, and they would like, and people were like, oh. And the lights would drop, and sometimes the bulb would go out because it was a Cuban dude. He didn't know how to run the lights and shit. This is fucking craziness. And dog, Willie opened up his cape like 3 feet away from the woman, and he started like shaking, gyrating his hips, and people were clapping. And I didn't want to look, Willie. Rudy, you don't want to look at a man's dick, but fuck it, you're there. You might as well look. It's right in front of you. Willie, his dick had to be 3 feet long, Willie, but it was like a tail, a skinny tail. But here's what I always thought. Like for years, it baffled me. Like, how would you get your dick that way? And then I watched Anthony Bourdain when he went to Cuba the one time, and they saw a guy who was bending steel. Did you ever see that episode?
No.
He's trying to bend steel, and the one Cuban says to the other, "Oye, ese tipo está quemado, compadre." When I was a kid, that was a big word.
Quebrado.
Quemado. That means you're burnt. Like when I was a kid, the big word was like, if you smoke marijuana, tú te oyes, te quema, compadre, como tipo ese con el pelo largo. Like your hair would get long. Like if you smoke pot, that was the fear. It wasn't no Betty Reagan that came out and said, don't smoke pot. It was Cuban people that would tell you, oh, hey, if you smoke pot, you're going to burn out like the Beatles. You're going to get long hair and shit. What was I talking about, really? I'm fucked up.
The guy with the steel.
The guy with the steel. Okay, so I thought about Cuban people, and I thought about how this guy would make his dick that big. And I could picture him and like 3 of his uncles in Cuba on the farm, like since they all had the reputation of having a big dick. Like I thought about it, like this is the only way. Because you know how Cuban people are. They all have a reputation of having a big dick all those years. Like, and they'll brag about it at parties. Oye, la familia mía tiene la pinga más grande en la isla, compadre. That they all got together and just stretched it. And just pulled on it. Like, pull, and you and they just pull. Because his dick wasn't normal. Like, my dick at the age was bigger. It was thicker. His dick, something had happened to it. Like, by the thing, it became like a little puss, like a belly button. And then it's just like they twisted it around like a ponytail. Like it was, dog, I had never seen that. And it was not a prosthetic. I saw it with my own eyes. After about a minute or two, dog, I just ran out of there crying. And we went to Carvel. And that was, I never told nobody about that story until about 5 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
No, I said the word quebrado because, like, back in the day, again, in Cuba, you know, like, if you force yourself, let's say if you pick up something and it was too heavy, you would get, like, una hernia. Te quebraste, which means that one of your testicles will like, blow up and get, like, really huge. And that was, like, a sign of being quebrado.
I think I got a hernia right now. But it's been like that for so long. Fuck it. Leave it like that. Why fix it if it ain't broken? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem with people is then you find other shit out and you get mad at yourself. What's up, Lee Syatt, my brother? Good to see you, Rudy Sarzo. Lee ain't saying nothing.
No, I can see you talking. This is insane. This is insane. Love it.
What's up, buddy?
I was just... Did we finish up with the sex slave? It was just...
Oh, no. Pino. So, Pino...
Yeah, Pino. What happened to Pino?
I grew up with Pino till about maybe the age of... Bruce Lee died in 73. Me and Pino were heartbroken. Like, we were heartbroken. Me, Pino, and Big Mike were heartbroken. And I'm not kidding you. Mike was like a 19-year-old. Something was wrong with him, but he was kind of there. And he studied karate with us. All 3 of us went to the same karate school. But they went to different karate schools on the weekends or some shit because they had moms somewhere else. Like their parents were divorced. So it was really interesting to hang out with these guys growing up and things happening. And all of a sudden, I did a couple movies, and one day I got an email. And it's my man Pino. And he's living in Jersey. He wants to talk to me. Coño, I picked up the phone. This has to be maybe a year after The Longest Yard. I pick up the fucking phone. Pino, what up? Oh, my God. Let me tell you what happened. Buddy told me, he goes, you need something? My father died and left me the air conditioning business. And fuck it, I sold it, and I made a few $1 million, and everything's beautiful in my life. He goes, you need anything? And I go, no, you know. And he goes, do you want to do breakfast, lunch, or dinner? I go, let's do breakfast tomorrow. I go, meet me at the Fort Lee Diner. So I meet him at the Fort Lee Diner. He looks beautiful. He's still a handsome kid, never gained a pound. He always was a Cuban that was tan with blue eyes, sits next to the table. We order oatmeal, eggs, blah, blah, blah. And in between the conversation, he goes, listen, man, I don't know if you're interested. I have a sex slave. She's been living in my basement for years. I got her tied up and shit. He's telling me this whole fucking story. He goes, in fact, I got to bring her an omelet. You know, he goes, and he's telling me all this shit. And I'm like, listen, brother, I can't. I don't want to be involved. He goes, no, it's all legit. She signed paperwork. I put away money in escrow for her. And in 2 years, you know, for 2 years, she belongs to me. I could fuck her. My friends could fuck her. Whatever you want to do. If you want to come over, she'll cook.
Where's she from?
I stopped the conversation, Rudy. I didn't want to know. I didn't know if he was a Fed. You know, listen, I meet you for breakfast. You're talking about a sex slave. That's two different fucking... I meet you for oatmeal, and you start talking about sex slaves. You know me, Rudy. I got to ask for the check. I can't have that early in the morning.
Was she with him on the leash or something?
No, he goes, I was going to bring you back to the house to meet my kid. I go, so how the fuck? He goes, no, my kid don't know her. I tell my kid that she can't go. She's a tenant. Only I'm allowed down there. I got keys. I got her tied up. That's how she likes to be tied up and all. And that was it. I didn't ask if she was good looking. I didn't ask what nationality she was. That had nothing to do with me, Rudy.
Was there like a nuclear plant near your town? Like, I don't understand. It's like a 3-hour drive from where I grew up. And it just couldn't be more different.
But now, I went to, not Miami, Fort Lauderdale, about 2 years ago. And he showed up. And I asked him, you still got the sex slave? He goes, nah, the contract ended. She left. And he was howling. Him and his kid were howling.
Unbelievable. You know, do you think all the crazy shit that happened in El Exilio was a continuation of crazy shit that was happening in the island, or do you think people just lost it when they left the island and all of a sudden they find themselves in a culture clash? They know what the environment, how to deal with it, and they just start like doing crazy shit. You think that's what happened?
To Cuban people?
Yeah.
Or any other nationality at least?
Because I had a more outside of the box experience living in New Jersey than I did when I moved back to Miami, which is closer to
Cuba.
To Cuba. You know, it seemed to be a little bit more kind of like the same pattern that we had living back in Cuba in Miami. But moving to New Jersey, that was a whole different experience. Do you think that had a lot to do with it? For your experience being so far away from the belly button?
So now here I am. I'm living in 205 West 88th Street. My mom has a bar. She's successful. She's got money at the time. My dad left the money. They had the restaurant up the corner from Willy Randy. To be honest with you, my mom had that up the corner from Club 38. Now, today it's a refrigeration place where they sell refrigerators for restaurants. That was a restaurant called El OK that my mom and my dad owned in the 50s, before Fidel. It was a little restaurant. They sold Cuban sandwiches, Cuban coffee, and they made money because it was Robert Fulton, Robert Waters. It was Robert Waters, whatever that school is. Right, it's like they owned, listen to me. It's like, you know that building across the street right now, Lee?
Right.
That's the high school. My mom owned the funeral parlor, a little coffee shop. And that was their front for the numbers. The numbers was their big thing. when my father got here, he got here before my mother, and he teamed up with these Jewish dudes, and they started pushing heroin when nobody knew. This is the early 50s, because he spoke their language, so he was the interpreter. So he took a piece of that money and started opening up businesses. He opened up that business, then he closed that, and he opened up a bar on 29th Street called El Reloj. And that was bands, a restaurant. That was the real deal. I mean, 2 doors down from Speakerman's Bakery, those are the Jews. When you're living next to Jews, you got to be making moves, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially in 50 fucking, they opened up the restaurant probably 61, 60. Dog, they had taken over this small little piece. But at the same time, Cubans were taking over a small piece of Miami. So in the winters, I would spend them in New York City, but the last week of July, I would shoot to Miami, to 130th and 100th Avenue on the Southwest by Monkey Jungle. And this is a complete different.
Yeah, Kendall.
This was a complete different world for me.
Yeah.
My godfather at the time was a construction guy. He was a little league thing. He was a member of the Chamber of Commerce. He had 2 daughters and a son. Very, very successful. Newspaper articles. He would take that. When I was a kid, I would get on the fucking bulldozer with him, and I would see the fucking lizards and the snakes and the fucking animals. He would go to that property when it was still a swamp, dog. And then they would lay the thing, and then he would build the first house, and then he'd move into the first house. And while he lived in the first house, he built 4 more houses that were duplicates of those houses. Con piscina, a tremendous backyard with a lemon tree, an orange tree, una finca, whatever they called it, and land. So you had this big property. So as a kid, I would shoot down there the last week of July. Now, when I went down there, I go to Red Berry's baseball camp, and I live under my godmother's rules, which was no cursing, very religious. They didn't talk about what I talked about up there. But Rodolfo, I knew from my mom's conversations that Rodolfo was from the same world my mom was from. So at night, I would sleep with Rodolfo, because him and Vivian never slept together anymore, because he would snore at night. So he had a king-size bed back there. So we would, in Miami in those days, this is 71, 72, you were already in Miami?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the TV would shut down at midnight or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
But the last show would be Mission Impossible. And after Mission Impossible, dun, 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 and the TV would shut off, Rudy Sarzo. And he would say, Coco, beat it. And me and him would get dressed, and we'd take a ride to a place that, La Vaquita. And they would sell beers and milk and butter. And it was a drive-through.
They still have it.
Jesus Christ, Lee Syatt. You understand me, Lee Syatt? And the beer was, Lee, listen to me. Freezing. The hotter it was, Lee, outside, and the more humid it was, that fucking Cuban dude in that hut knew that beer had been under ice for 12 hours, Lee. You couldn't even hold it. It was so cold. God. And I'd be 10, and he'd buy me a fucking Budweiser. And I'd drink a Budweiser with him, and I'd get a little drunk and shit. And then he'd take me down to some fucking dock, and we'd get on a boat, and he'd go out, and then he'd pick up bales of weed. And I'd make believe like I didn't know what was going on, but I did know what was going on. And he'd put him on the boat, and we'd drive back. He'd lock up his boat, bah. And we'd drive back to the house like nothing happened. And on the way back, he goes, you don't understand, this is between me and you. My kids don't have to know nothing about this. And then he would tell me stories about him and my father growing up in Cuba with Tony Perez from the Cincinnati Reds, and how, amo pelota, when your dad died, it broke my heart, and I had to move, and and he would cry. He would break down and cry. And then we'd go back to his house. It'd be like 5:30 in the morning. The sun would come up. We'd lay down for 10 minutes, and Vivian would make fucking eggs and bacon. It was like nothing happened. And I'd do my shit with the kids. She would make us do homework from 9 to 10 that she would assign. And, oh, no, you had to play the piano. So it was I lived like an undercover life, a Cuban undercover life. You understand me?
Oh, yeah.
I knew what was going on, but I didn't know what was going on. And then he ended up shooting some dude, and he went away to Atlanta, and then his kids found out. I still keep in touch with the kids as best as I can. In fact, I was thinking of calling the son today. I was thinking about him. So, those are the Cuban worlds I lived in. But all those families, like I said, those early families of kids I grew up with in Union City, those kids showed me the other world, and how polite they were, and how they couldn't speak that way in front of their mothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't speak crazy in front of my mother, but she wouldn't talk like regular moms. Like, I would never bring my mother in public, Rudy. Like, I would try to avoid my mother going to school as much as I fucking could, because she didn't know how to act. She was a fucking wahida, you know what I'm saying? And to make it worse, a wahida with money, with jewelry hanging off it. You saw this thing today at the house. He saw the fucking thing when I was 3. My sister sent me a picture from Cuba of me and my mom when I'm in 3. I got a suit on, Rudy.
That was your mom?
Yeah, and she was there holding me with a mink hat on. Who wears a mink hat in 1966? You know what I'm saying? Not even black people had a mink hat on in those fucking days. And the chain around her neck with the big fucking Santawabara con Asawache and a tremendous gold cane like LL Cool J. Who does this type of shit? You know what I'm saying? I saw the ankle bracelet and my neck hairs stood up. Because when I was a kid, no women had ankle bracelets. She would have a gold fucking bracelet with like a thing hanging on it. Who wore that shit? You know what I'm saying? So I grew up in all that stuff, and all those businesses in those days were all Cuban owned, Rudy. And you had to behave a certain way in those places. You had to act a certain way when you walked in those places. You couldn't be in there giggling and shit. The other day, I'm flying, okay? And there's a kid, and there's a girlfriend. And Lee, I thought of you. I didn't think of you in this way, Lee. I just thought of you because I wanted to tell you on the podcast, and I forgot because of what culture I come from.
Okay.
It's 6 in the morning, okay? I know it's fucking early, but you got to pay attention. People get shot every fucking day. You got to pay attention. This kid and this girl are fucking around. But obviously, they're with a guy. The kid's got to be, I clock him at 24, the girl's got to be about 23, and the old man's got to be about 60. As we're walking, I see that the two kids are walking more and more distance from the old man. I see the old man reach in his pocket. I'm walking slanted behind him, and he takes something out. He goes back, he takes something out. And as we get to the TSA agent goes, ticket and fucking ID. And by that point, the old man walked up with them. He looks at the both of them. He goes, ¿Qué pasó aquí? Están comiendo mierda. And I remember what that word meant in my culture at that age. Yeah. Tell him, Rudy, what it means.
Well, eating shit.
Eating shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's eating shit, Lee, is when you black out in life. Like, I didn't see the kid running from out of the car. Estaba comiendo mierda. You were fucking around, texting. You were doing something you were not supposed to even be doing. You're at my restaurant. Sit down straight and look straight ahead. You don't need to touch nothing. In those days, if you touch something, they'd say, no toca nada, toca ese culo. Like, if I would go to Hernandez restaurant, I wasn't allowed to touch the condiments. He would tell me 10 times, oye, don't touch my condiments. You don't need to touch my condiments for no reason at all. I don't want you touching the sugar. I don't want you touching the salt. I don't want you.
You're sick of kids throwing away.
Like the way and then Pino's Pizzeria came. Pino's Pizzeria was on 22nd Bergen Line Avenue. A tremendous fucking cheese slice.
Wait a second. Is that Pino the sex slave guy?
No, there's a complete Pino. So that's why we would always go in there with Pino.
So many Pinos.
When Pino opened, we'd go in there with Pino and bust his ball. With a real Pino, please stand up. And they would get pissed off. What Pino? We're from Italy. I'm Pino. I'm from Cuba. There's no Italian named Pino. Tremendous. Then Pino's Pizzeria opened. Listen, you go to Pino's Pizzeria, take the pepper, and throw it against the wall. There was another day there. You know what I'm saying? But up the... you could go in there and throw the pizza and say, fuck you, Pino. And that was another day in the life of those fucking savages. But 2 blocks up at Hernandez Cuban restaurant, you had to act like a gentleman, dog. Because the old man would fucking fuck you up, and everybody knew it. He would fuck you up. He had a reputation of dragging people down Burger Line. And across the street was the Buster. This is so fucking crazy to me, like how talking to you brings all this out. I forgot it. When you walked in today and we started talking about the Palladium, I thought about what I was going through in my life at that time and what seeing that EP meant to me at that time. Like, my head blew up. And now I see you here and we're eating and we're fucking around. It's Thanksgiving week. It's fucking crazy, Rudy Sarzo.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I'll never forget my first Thanksgiving in Miami. You know, because, you know, coming from Cuba, we didn't have that. We had Noche Buena, and that was it, you know. So Thanksgiving was like, and why does this Thanksgiving is all about? You know, then you get to know about the Pilgrims and the Indians and all that, right? But we were Cuban refugee. You know, our first Thanksgiving was 1961. We were fresh off the not off the boat, but off the Pan American Airlines flight. We landed in September, October, November. That's it. 2 months later, you know, right after my birthday, you had Thanksgiving. And so my mom, you know, we were getting Army surplus food at the time. All the Cuban refugees we did, which meant that my mom, every couple of weeks, she would go with us, the kids. She would take one of those, un carrito, you know, like the little carts that you put stuff in, you know, like your groceries or your laundry and stuff, and drag it down, you know, for about 4 or 5 miles to the place where you picked up the Army surplus food. It's kind of like Costco, but only for refugees, you know. And they'll, you know, you go there and you give them a card that had like your allotment of how much every couple of weeks, and they fill these boxes just like Costco, and everything is plain wrap, powdered eggs, powdered milk, peanut butter, government cheese, Spam. We used to call it carne de refugio. And my mom learned to make carne de refugio. That means
refugee meat.
Refugee meat. You know,
I'm just trying to imagine what powdered eggs taste like.
Powdered eggs.
Next time you come on somebody's tits, lick the white fluid that drips. That's powdered eggs right there.
Powdered eggs. You know, and
it's gotta be. It's American Airlines eggs.
Yeah, like that, or
like
the
that.
You know, when you stay in one of those hotels, you know,
the
low
free
budget,
breakfast?
with free breakfast, you know, powdered eggs, scrambled eggs, you know, stuff like
God.
that. Yeah, and so my mom had all of a sudden, you know, it was kind of like, well, how am I going to feed my family with this crap? You know, but it was amazing. You know, the Cuban mind, you just kind of like adapt and be creative. You know, so she made croquetas de carne de refugio. She made like hamburger patties, carne de refugio. You know, everything was refugee meat, and you could always smell it. You walk down the hallways of a project. You know, Miami, we have big buildings where, you know, a lot of families live there. You know, 2 or 3 story high. You know, and you could smell the carne de refugio, you know, cooking it. And with lard. They give you a can of lard, you know. And it was totally insane. Totally insane.
I can't lie to you. Every time I go to Ralph's and I see that canned shit,
Spam,
I might get goosebumps because I want to buy it. Cut it, slice it thin, and fry that motherfucker up with 2 eggs. You have no idea, Syatt. You have no idea what happened. When then you drink a cup of coffee after that, and don't go 10 feet farther from the bathroom. You understand me? Because your life's about to flash in front of you.
Spam.
Spam is not bad. I you know what? I don't eat it. I haven't eaten it in years, but I could go buy a can of Spam right now, get some spinach, cook it up with some olive oil, with some garlic, some fucking some spicy pepper, that red crushed pepper, and eat some Spam with some spinach. What? Damn me. Go ahead.
But that's all we had.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's all. No other choice. You had Spam. Carne de refugio. You know. Yeah.
You know, now, how old were you when you left Cuba, Rudy?
Was about 2.5 months shy of 11.
And what do you remember? Like, what do you like? I said, I grew up in a house that I was too young to remember what was going on. So you have this, you have this 100% hatred around. Now I know when I look at you and I go, I hate the Boston Red Sox. No, When I look you straight in the face and I go, ese Fidel hijo de la puta, ojalá que se muera el cáncer. When I look at people looking at that, I grew up with that type of hate for Fidel.
Yeah.
Like, it was fucking ugly, spitting hate. I was around when they started looking for anybody who was associated with Batista. Like, that's how hatred Cubans were. In 1970 through 75, I used to hear rumblings of these Cubans looking for Cubans that had been involved with, that were now in their 60s, that were involved in the Batista regime. And now they were going to hunt them the fuck down. And I remember, I told you as a kid I grew up with, that they put him in the witness relocation plan. He was one of Batista's drivers. And I remember going, would I fucking leave an island and hunt somebody down? Even at that age, with no logic, I was like, that's fucking hatred. But you know what? By the age of 16, Rudy, my mother died. Other things were popping up. I had forgotten all about this hatred for Fidel. So whenever he was on TV now, because in the home I grew up with, as soon as he came on TV, you had to switch the channel. You had to switch it right away, and tempers flared, and sometimes somebody broke down in tears. It was ugly. At that fucking bar, I saw it 1,000 times. The mood go from fucking, that's how much hatred there was in the early 70s towards Fidel Castro, where I grew up. And then I forgot about this hatred. The movie Scarface came out. And all of a sudden, I watched the Celia show. And by episode 20, they got to go to Mexico. But Fidel just turns on this country. And his hatred for fucking black people, and his hatred for gay people, and how he just took people's businesses and put them on a fucking per diem, and they had to have tickets for food, and Celia Cruz wouldn't look at him and Che Guevara. They have that scene where they told her, make sure you sing that song to Fidel directly and Che, and nod and smile, and she wouldn't do it. So they declared her whatever of the state, and then she lost the house, and they attacked her. It's very interesting. What do you remember, Rudy?
Well, growing up, first of all, my parents, they originally, we were going to get on a cruise that was bound for Spain, that was going to do a layover in New York City. And the plan was to, when my family arrived on this ship in New York City, to ask for political asylum, and stay over in New York. Well, the cruise right before the ones that we were scheduled to get on, half the boat did that. They did that. They just got off and asked for political asylum in New York City. So from that point on, they say, well, we're not going to stop in New York anymore. We're just going to keep going from Havana to Spain, wherever it was, probably Barcelona, So my parents had to start all over again. We had a sponsor that claimed us from the United States. We have visas. We have everything. It was all legal, plus a passport. Plus the danger of doing that in a communist country, because once the powers that be find out that you're leaving, that all of a sudden you're a gusano. You're leaving the country. You're leaving the revolution, basically. You're not supporting the revolution anymore. So my parents took my brother and me out of school for that year, because in schools, the teachers were made to ask the kids questions about how their parents are talking about Fidel and the revolution at home. They were kept after school for that. And one of the instances, I remember one of the teacher coming in to our class and saying, okay, I want you all kids to pray to God for ice cream. We did, and we got nothing. And then she goes, okay, now pray to Papa Castro for ice cream, and we got ice cream, So they were indoctrinating our generation, and turning us against our parents. And we were kids. We didn't know what was going on. When you're a kid, you're basically honest, when they ask you certain questions, especially when there's an authority figure kind of like threatening you, in school. Basically, just their presence would be enough to do that. So my parents wanted to avoid any possibilities. That was around the time where they were doing los pioneritos, pioneers. which is basically they were taking kids from families, sending them over to Russia. And there was a movement that started happening in Miami called Los Peter Pan. Peter Pan was getting the kids out of Cuba and putting them in foster homes around the United States, New Orleans, Miami, certain other parts of the country, just to avoid from having the kids being sent over to Russia at the time. When we arrived in Miami, I was in Havana when Bay of Pigs happened, and we were in Miami when the October missile crisis happened. So I have a recollection of all of the intensity in the air that you felt, because you just didn't know. You didn't know if it was good. You were experiencing the beginning of a World War III. It was really, really thick.
I'm being a young man. I'm being, 6, and everywhere you went had a fallout shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Schools had the fucking drills,
Yeah.
and you had to go down to the basement, and they gave you a package. The one day we had to stay down there for 2 hours, and they gave you a package, and they had Tang with water and like some fucking artificial sandwich and shit. And we were more prepared, like they were preparing kids for war in those days. Like we always had to go to a basement or some shit.
I didn't see it as war. I saw it as the end of the world. This was it. And then what was going to happen? Let's say you came out of that cave to this new world where everything is destroyed. What? What are you going to do? Did
you ever see Castro when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did.
Where did you see him?
My dad used to work for La Revista Bohemia. He was one of the technicians. He ran the 3-bobbin machine. There was like 3 big cylinders of paper, and they would rotate, and the paper would be printed on that, right? So yeah, we worked at the La Revista Bohemia for many years, and so he had a technician status, technical. So he was part of the union and everything. So there was this guy, Miguel Ángel Quevedo, who owned La Revista Bohemia, and he was he was a very wealthy man, and he actually supported the revolution. So right after the revolution, when Castro came into power, he threw a big party at his ranch for the employees and for Fidel, los milicianos, So Fidel was there, and so at that time he had not declared himself a Marxist Leninist yet. He was just Fidel Castro, un revolucionario, So it wasn't like a real scary situation, because things were just, this is right after the revolution. And then after that, he started making all those speeches, and the country went in the whole different direction. And that's when shit became very, very scary. Yeah. The first people that we knew that actually left the country were Chinese that were in our neighborhood. The ones that owned Los Chinos. They had the fruit stand, they had the Chinese restaurant, the laundry, all of that. Because they came to Cuba from China, running away from communism. And once Castro, declared himself a communist, they said, we're out of here. And they just made out, they left for San Francisco, to join.
In 1960, it was one of the biggest Chinatowns.
Yeah.
The Chinatown in Cuba. I thought some people stayed, and Fidel left them alone, supposedly. I didn't know what was going on. I reconnected with my sister, and one conversation we had a conversation about a time period when I found the letter that they wrote, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. I could not believe the words I was reading. And I remember asking my sister, how was it being raised? And she goes, it was all according to how much money your mom sent that month, And, I still remember, those years where there was when my mother had to sell the bar, and she couldn't send as much money as they could. That was one of the letters they sent. And I asked my sister about it, and she goes, there was a time where they were just turning this whole island against you guys. She goes, it was just terrible. Where it was, they were on top of us. And then when I met my cousins for dinner one night after a spot at the Improv right here on, they were telling me like what it was like to grow up and have to hide albums. When they first got Led Zeppelin 4 with Stairway to Heaven, just, Jesus fucking Christ. It's just weird to hear. It was really eye-opening watching that Celia show, because when I go to Portland, I want to meet with an attorney up there, a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and maybe we could put this warrant thing away and I could go to Cuba and see my sister, because my sister won't leave, bro. What the fuck am I going to do, Rudy? I haven't seen my sister since I was 3 years old. I can't die and not see my sister. Lee, you're right over there. You're over there fucking mumbling, stumbling by yourself. Everything all right over there, Lee?
I'm doing fine. It's a crazy country. It's weird. My aunt and uncle are going next week now for our vacation, so now it's totally open.
You should go with them and take 100 stars and charge 200 stars to the Canadian tourists. You know what I'm saying? Take a couple kilos, do something, cocksucker. Let me give some shout outs here real quick. Tom Swab, Kern Michael, I love you. Jeff Tellerman, Newly One Love, Alex Castino, Hugo Toppin, Dr. Nick Bolovich, Ookie Spooky, Bob Lalingus and his family, and the rest of the church goddamn family. I love you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. One thing before the show, I asked you about the resurgence of music. The resurgence of music, because the music business has changed so much over the last few years that everything changed. Like they started not having record sales, so bands had a tour for the labels to make money. Is that correct? Something like that. Something, they're not making money off records. I don't know what I heard. So
no, I make the least from my catalog from record sales or even download. I make the most, from other sources, streaming sources, or we actually now get paid for non-terrestrial performances on records that you are signed to the record deal. Like, for example, I was signed to all the record deals for Quiet Riot. So every time a quiet from the record, from the Mental Health record or Condition Critical record, the song gets played on the radio, as a performer, I make money on that. That was not the rule as a performer, and on the radio, non-terrestrial, which means like Spotify, Sirius XM, all that stuff. Not the ones with antennas, but computer, satellite radio and stuff like that. And that's it kind of like balances it out. It makes up for it. But I would say most of the income today is not from catalog. It's actually from sometimes getting your music placed in a movie or television or advertising, and also for performing live and VIP meets and greets and merchandising. And that money is actually allocated towards your cost, your overhead for transportation. If you have a bus or you're flying, or your hotels, or paying for the crew and so on. It's not, it's money that you must make in order to break even or make, some sort of profit.
But over the years, when I was growing up, you went to see Michael Jackson 4 nights at the Meadowlands, and he just did 4 at the Garden. For a couple of years there, live shows, it seemed like the numbers were going down, and all of a sudden, I guess these promoters put all these bands together and said, "Listen, fuck all this shit. Let's get 4 of you motherfuckers together and take it out there, old school.
The
market's out there. The market's out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you're active, and you're fucking." You're out there again, and all of a sudden, all these bands, these resurgence, and I think it's great. Bad Company toured this year, like I said. Peter Gabriel toured with fucking Sting. Yeah, that was a great tour. Who would have thought? We were talking about how Poison and Def Leppard's going out. All these bands, and I'm like, your phone must be fucking ringing, Rudy.
You know, I'm actually doing gigs with a band called The Guess Who. You know, American Woman, all those songs. Yeah. And it's great. I'm having a wonderful time. It's we do a lot of civic auditoriums, theaters, casinos. So yeah, it's not a club band. It's a classic rock, established group.
And people will go see them.
Yeah.
Like people like me would go, what the fuck? Let's go.
Yeah.
American Woman is one of my jams. I'm gonna jump out a window.
Oh, absolutely. And I gotta tell you, the whole set is packed with hits. They had 17 hits, top 40 hits, in their history. And I'm beginning to learn a bit about that circuit, because most of the bands that I played with in the past have been, what they call 80s bands, and that's a whole different, hierarchy. But the hierarchy with classic rock bands, for example, we did a show with Three Dog Night. So whoever goes on, the headliner is decided by who had the most hits. Three Dog Night had like 21 top 40 hits. So the Guess Who, we open up for them because we only had 17. So that's the way that they weigh things. It's all about how many hit songs on the radio you actually had.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
No, fuck it. Why fuck around? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you go to the 80s bands, who had 21 top 40 singles from an 80s band? Maybe a Bon Jovi, maybe got close to that. I'm talking about rock bands. And because they were mainly, we used to sell records, albums. And there would be about 2 or 3 singles, or they weren't even singles. They were MTV videos. With Whitesnake in 1987 for the 87 record, we had 4 videos, which meant that we were able to tour for about a year and a half on that record, because we first went out as an opening band for Motley Crue. Then we came back around again, playing basically the same market as a headliner. And then that was in the winter, and then we did the summer tour, and then we went to Europe and Asia and whatever. So it was a little bit different. The classic rock bands, it's based on top 40 Billboard hits. No MTV videos.
You didn't have to be on another illusion. I thought you replaced. 2 people together. I'm singing Chicago.
So that's another band.
That's the other band. Yeah. How many hits they got? 40.
Yeah, they went through.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah,
but the singer's not there. Peter Cetera's not there.
It's not there. Actually, they had 3 singers.
But the fucking horn sounds tremendous.
Yeah.
I saw them do some Hall of Fame show, and they did 250624, whatever. Fucking off. The horn section was sensational.
They had 3 lead singers: Bobby Lamb, Robert Lamb, Pete Cetera, and Terry Kath. And then they brought in another lead vocalist into the band, and it's all about the songs, with that classic rock, market.
I saw somebody, one of those fucking jerk-offs. I have yahoo.com, and I scrolled down one day, and somebody wrote the top touring bands of a genre without the original members. And you know me, I'm a music guy, Rudy. I'm looking at this, and I saw the numbers they're doing, and if one guy left, with Bad Company, I think there was 2 guys from the original band.
Yes, they are.
There was somebody touring with nobody original.
Yeah.
It was something crazy.
Yeah.
The kid's son put the band together, his friends. I don't even know what the fuck was going on.
Actually, with Bad Company, it's up until recently, it's 3 members. You have Simon Kirk on drums, Mick Ralphs on guitar, and Paul Rogers on vocals.
Who was the old bass player for them?
Buzz Burrell.
I did a radio
show. He passed away.
I did a radio show in Chicago with the guitar player then.
Yeah, Mick Ralphs. Yeah.
Very nice guy. But it's crazy how I read the article, and I looked at it from the fucking writer's perspective, how he was trying to blow these people out of the water type of deal. Mm-hmm. But I looked at it from a different perspective. Look at the numbers they're doing. When I go see those guys, it's about nostalgia, Rudy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's about that song they did when I used to finger bang that chick behind the fucking
Yeah.
Carvel
Yeah,
in the dead of the winter, in the heat of the night. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So I could see how, for me, I would go to more of them. I went to one at the Hollywood Bowl from the 80s with Cyndi Lauper and somebody else and somebody else. My wife got the tickets. We said, what the fuck? You had the cab drop us off right next to the joint, so we don't have to be walking up the hill from Franklin. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do it. You abandon the ship. Lee, how you doing over there?
I'm
What
pretty
else you got on
good.
your agenda the rest of the day? Yeah.
The day's pretty much over once this is done.
What are you doing tonight?
Tonight, I don't know. Well,
You gonna bleach your eyeballs and bring them back to light? Look at those things. They're
oh my God, yeah.
See, I told you in the afternoon you want to mess around with Uncle Joey. I'm like the Wu-Tang Clan, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe if I get out in time, maybe I'll go to Reseda.
What's a Reseda?
The Black Horse, Dark Horse.
Oh, that's right. I said Black Horse. I got a spot at the store, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
I got a spot at the store. I'm going to go home and hang out with the family and stuff like that. What's your schedule looking like, Tarzan? Talk to me. Are you
With
here?
me,
Yeah.
I'm
When
doing
is the next Guess Who?
in December, I believe 9th or 10th. Yeah, we got 3 more shows, and they're basically in the Dakotas. Because in the wintertime, that's exactly where you want to be. You know, we got 3.
Listen, when I go in where I go in the winter, I go in the winter there for a reason. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're going to go there,
Yeah.
if you're going in the summer, it ain't going to be the same type of party.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to
yeah.
go there. When you go to Buffalo, you got to go in January. Don't go to Buffalo.
Yeah, that's true.
All right? I'm telling
true.
you, this is
That's
my
true.
perspective.
That's true.
When I go to New York City, I go in November or September.
Uh-huh.
I do that for a reason. I don't want to be in Miami in August. I want to be in Miami in October.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are winning. Everybody's happy. You know what I'm saying?
Got
There's certain places you want to
Yeah.
go at certain times
Yeah.
of the year.
it. Yeah.
Detroit, you want to go to Detroit in January.
Yeah.
If you're going to rock the house, fuck it. If not, you end up like the singer. Fuck it.
Yeah, and that's true because early on I learned, from touring with Ozzy, we used to do a lot of winter tours, and that was because there was less traffic, less bands. Like if you go out in the summer, everybody's on the road. You go out in the wintertime, everybody is back home, resting from having too much turkey after Christmas, and then you're out there, you're cleaning up because there's no competition. You're the only game in town, basically.
But there's also a strategy for me now, today's economy. In today's economy, once November, the second week in November starts, I don't fly eastbound until mid-January. I do not touch LAX till mid-January, the last week of January now. I have 1,000 reasons for that. I don't want to be that asshole, because every year we sit there, Christmas Eve, full, it's over, you're happy, and you're watching World News Tonight, and they show you millions of airplanes stranded for the holidays, sleeping on cots, yelling at the fucking lady of Delta.
Yeah.
So I made it a fucking habit. The first week of December is it for me. Number 2, I'm an R-rated act. They have a lot of Christmas parties starting the second week of December. Why fuck around? Why take a chance? You know what I'm saying? The club owners are very nice to me. I understand. I get it. The week for me to go back is December 26th. That's when Satan comes out. That's when everybody wants to get their dick sucked. They got a new pair of socks. They got a new pair of pants. That's when Uncle Joey shows up to your town. That's a good week, but I'm very lazy now, Rudy. I'm scared of flying with snow and delays and all that shit. Then the holidays makes people crazy. There's always a plane that goes off the track at fucking O'Hara, right? The plane can't stop. It takes the fucking Burger King sign down in left field. Why be a part of that? Kennedy Airport gets crazy. You want to go home for what? To do what? To make 2,000, 3,000, 4,000? It's not worth your life. It's not worth being stuck in an airport for a day and a half. It really isn't. You know what I'm saying? Mom, I love you. I'll see you the last week of January with a bigger gift than I was going to get you in December, because it gives me 2 weeks to clean up that Visa card. You know what I'm saying? And I can start all over again. That just, for me, I don't like those weeks.
Yeah.
Right now, I go to Portland next week, and the party's over. I go to Portland December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And when I come back, and I go out of Burbank.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Abalibidi mafungibidi.
Yep.
And I fly back into Burbank, and that's the last time. Because you also you don't need a break from travel. You also need a break from airports. So that'll put me at like 7 weeks. I don't see a fucking airport. That gives me a complete break, and I'm not flying in the danger zone time of the year. Listen, don't get me wrong. A plane could go down in the summertime, in October, November. That's not what I'm scared of. I'm scared of delays. I'm scared of... last week, Lee and I had a drive from Boston to Connecticut, and I didn't think about it till I got back into my bed that night, how much that bothered me that night. I don't like driving with strangers, Rudy Sarzo. Something doesn't click with me with that shit. I don't want to be a movie star. I want to drive the fucking car. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who you are. I'm not one of those people. I don't know. Whether it's a limo, a cab driver, that type of distance, you know, and they're like, come back in January. Listen, unless I get a fucking sled dog, I'm not doing Boston to fucking Connecticut in fucking January. You know, there's just things that you look at yourself and you go, I don't really need to do this at this point in my life. I used to fly to Buffalo in January between you and I because of my love for Buffalo. It's a connecting flight. If that was a connecting flight to somewhere else, I wouldn't fucking go. You know what I'm saying? I really like Buffalo. When I go to Buffalo, I feel like home. For 2-3 days, I feel like home. I like the wings. I like the blue cheese. That's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? I'll go to Detroit in fucking January. Test me. I'll go to any part of Michigan in fucking January. I love all that type of shit. But that holiday travel, Rudy, that shit ain't for me, Poppy. That's when they lose luggage. You got a kilo in the suitcase. Now you got to go get 10 smacks to the face, and you got to tell the story. I don't know what happened. I left. The stewardess was smiling. You know what I'm saying? Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't want to see nobody that bad for the holidays. I went to New York last year. I left on the 9th. I came back on the 13th with my family. The plane deal we got was sensational. We could not believe the tickets we had on Virgin, because that's the time of the year to really dig in. That's your last chance to fly cheap. Nobody flies between the 9th and the 13th or 14th. That's when the Christmas travel starts on the 15th. The plane tickets went down. The hotel tickets went down. I took them, I put them in Edgewater. We went over the city every day in the ferry like movie stars and shit. We walked over, went to see the tree, and we came back before the Christmas rush. It's a very nice time. Did I want to work? No, I was with my family. Next time I'll work in New York or something. I know that's still pretty cool. But that's possibly the last week I'll work. After that, I don't like that Christmas travel, brother. What about you, Lee? You don't fly during Yom Kippur, so you don't give a fuck, Jack. Lee don't fly during Jewish holidays. He told me this years ago, but he don't want the people to know because he feels embarrassed.
Yeah, I feel very embarrassed. I've never been able. I've never been able to go home for Thanksgiving. I've always wanted to, but like it's not really the biggest one. Like that's why I tended to go home during December, because Thanksgiving wasn't huge, but it's too expensive. Like a lot of people try to go back for both, and it would be like $600, and I couldn't do it. So I've been here like 6 years, I think. I haven't been able to go back. But then again, who wants to get stuck in that in that? So
it's already snowing, Doug.
Oh yeah,
it's already snowing. Did you see that already?
Yep.
2 days. I was talking to Justin, and he was asking me, "How about you going here that week?" And I go, "Doug, you know that's one of my danger zone weeks. I don't go into Dangerville those weeks." And he goes, "What are you talking about? It never snows there these type of the year." I go, "Doug, I grew up there. Who the fuck do you think you're dealing with, all right? Mother Nature sends you a zing in November. It's called Dean Delray."
Dude,
I talked to him yesterday. He said, "Dog, I had to leave New York. It was so fucking cold." Yeah, we're California people, dog.
Yeah.
That skin melts. Yeah. It's you know. I had to turn the heat on this morning. I was embarrassed.
Me too.
47 degrees. We got to turn heat on and shit. Mom, Terry, she comes in. What? Turn on the heat. I'm freezing in here. Fucking go to New York at this age. I'll fucking collapse, Rudy Sarzo. I've been living like a doctor out here in the sunlight, rubbing number 2 on my legs, going to drink coffee. I'm going to go shovel snow. What do people die doing? Shoveling fucking snow. That's what I want to do. I can't do it now. I thought about Colorado. The snow's a little light. I would consider like a southern town. I hear those southern part of Colorado's really booming.
What about in New York City? You wouldn't have to shovel.
Listen, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Why are you going to bother me? I just told you I don't want to live in that cold weather whether I have to shovel or not. You know why? There's 1,000 angles why, Lee. I can't see at this age getting out of your fucking house with your chancletas on and your robe and have to turn your fucking car on, full blast heat, sit there like a fucking frozen midget, then clean off the windshield, then go in your house and get dressed, and by the time you come out, your car is warmed up. I can't imagine doing this at this age, Rudy Sarzo. Are you?
No.
Tell me the truth.
No, I'm done.
Really?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought about the advantages of moving to New York. Listen, I love New York, but in my heart, that ship sailed. I'm too old for New York. What advantage do I get from New York right now? I can do comedy at 2 in the morning. I don't want to be out after 10. I'm scared. It's a different world out there.
I love playing New York. To me, it's
I love going to Gotham.
Yeah.
I love dog.
Yeah.
Let me show you a picture of pizza 50 yards away. Let me tell you something. This is the type of pizza you eat. I don't give a fuck if you have to go to the hospital from the gluten. You got to eat this when you're in New York. Just have the ambulance. Just cut it in with Chris Mazzilli. Go, Chris, listen. The pizza down the corner, I'm going to eat a slice. Part of our contract is we got to split the ambulance. And I got to get taken right to the hospital to, what the fuck is this shit? This pizza destroyed my insides. I was like, I was just walking, minding my own business, whistling down the street. You know me, Rudy Sarzo. I don't bother nobody. And I look over to the side, and lo and behold, look at this. 50 yards away.
That's a lot of gluten.
Yeah, but it
and dairy.
Don't matter. You go to the hospital, it's all right.
And it's glowing. It's like, you know what? It looks like the food that, when you go to Japan, they'll have the menu in a shelf outside of the restaurant, like replicas, plastic replicas of food, and they actually sometimes looks better than the food that you get inside the restauant. This is what it reminds me of.
No, I took that picture. That's no fucking replica, bro. Look at that. What else they got here? They got the slice. They got the stromboli with the
stromboli.
Oh, look at that
Love
shit.
stromboli.
They
Yeah.
got everything in this place, man.
Wow.
They got 2 Italians,
Wow.
4 Mexicans, but it's all right. It all balances out at the end
Wow.
of the night. Lee Syatt, how you doing over there? You're seeing the devil, aren't you? You never thought Uncle Joey was going to take it deep into the murky waters at 2 in the afternoon. One thing I've learned from you, Rudy, is you have to take care of yourself. I'm looking at you and I'm like, this guy is a savage. You're a savage.
Gotta take care of yourself. It's going on the road. It's hard.
Oh my God! And it gets harder every 3 weekends you go.
Yeah, and you and I, we're not like athletes, in the sense that let's say you're Derek Jeter, you have a bad game, you strike out 4 times during the game, right? Next day, the Yankee Stadium's gonna be filled again, no problem, right? You and I, if we have one bad show, people ain't coming back. It's done. You come back and you half empty, room, So every night you have to hit a grand slam every single night. And you have to be in shape for that. You can't be sick. You can't be feeling ill or tired.
It's so funny how you learn. For me, one of the biggest lessons was, and people get upset with me, is I don't smoke pot with people on the road. That's the biggest fucking road to fucking a pneumonia, especially when you travel a lot. I don't mingle too much. People want to hug you, they're coughing, that's okay, but I won't smoke pot with you. It's amazing how many people come up to you coughing and they want to smoke pot with you. You're like, dog, I got to go do a movie next week and do this. And they're like, no, I had a pneumonia, but it went away. I went to the doctor. You're like, dog, it don't matter. I get a lot of sleep on the road, man. I don't do a lot of movement on the road, Rudy Sarzo. I'm going to be strictly honest with you. I fucked around in my career for 16 years. I go on the road for no money, and I'd act like an asshole on stage. I'd have a set list, but I wouldn't. I didn't really care what they thought. I was a Comedy Store comic, and I was happy with that. I would open up for Joe Rogan, and I would do well in those shows because Joe would pay me well, so I had to do well and be a little prepared. But I didn't really get it till I started headlining. And I started realizing people paying $20 to come in to see me. How important it is for me to be in a certain shape, a certain state of mind. I got to bat 60% because even if I bat 60, I could turn that into 80. Do you follow me? We have tricks. I have tricks to confuse you comically. Where even if the closer doesn't work, his first 30 minutes are really hilarious. You know, there's rooms I go to now that I'm not connecting with them the first 35 minutes, Rudy. And all of a sudden I twist it on them and I turn my energy on them and I focus on the last 15 and 3/4 of the room gives me a standing ovation. Even though I ate shit for 35 minutes, I have tricks. I've been doing it for 25 fucking years. You know what I'm saying? I'm a hooker. You know what I could do to your dick? I could lick it, light it on fire, suck the blowhard out of your ass, show you your kidney. Yeah. You know, I could do a doctor's test better than he can. I'll let you know what you got before the doctor. You got a certain taste in your sperm. You're missing some fucking carrot juice. You know what I'm saying? Lee, wake up, cocksucker. Look at the shape of you, Lee. Lee, you need another star, Lee. That's what the problem is.
I might.
Yeah. Look at the shape of you. But and you know what I'm talking about, Rudy Sarzo. You see it with singers. A singer will come out and say, guys, by the way, I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. Those Motley Crue days are over. We're lowering it from 16 to 3. You know what I'm saying? I got a sound, whatever. And you go see them and you know the singer's struggling. This is 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah, but even when the singer's struggling, you know, the more struggling the singer goes through, the bigger the explosions and the light show on stages. It's deflecting.
There you go. I do the same. We as comedians, we do the exact same thing. If Thomas Ward used to have a great joke that he had a little dick, so whenever he fucked, he made shit happen in the room. Like he'd break a window and he'd break a lamp, and he hit it with a shoe and shit. You know, I don't know what the joke was, but basically he would detract her from having sex. You know. As a comedian, there's nights I go up there and I can't believe what's happening, Rudy Sarzo. You know what I'm talking about. There's nights when you're on stage, even if I say hello, they're puking with laughter. And there's nights they don't laugh for the first 10 minutes. I gotta twist it on them and take them down a different dungeon. I gotta show them a different fucking coffin. You know what I'm saying? You gotta take them somewhere else. And even though that wasn't the fucking schedule, that wasn't the plan.
How long does it take you to realize that?
10 minutes. I just did 3 shows. I'm just saying. I'm talking about a situation here. I just did 3 shows. These people on the way out, they were calling ambulances. They couldn't breathe. Okay, I taped the show with Lee. I listened to it. Now, when I listen to it, I know what to say and how to say it. I just learned that now after 25 years because he started taping my sets before I started taping the special. I did the exact same set the second night, the exact same first 8, 9, 10, 12 minutes, and it didn't go nowhere. And I said a specific line that wasn't a curse, and it really didn't go nowhere. And then I flipped it, and I told the story to bring them down to level. Let me bring you down to my level. Let me tell you what I go through. You know, when I was 28, I did this, and this. You take them to a specific situation, now I get them laughing from a different corner of their heart. You follow me? Now I'm getting them. So we have current. But guess what? While I'm telling that story, and I'm trying to tell that story to form, I'm really trying to fucking think about what's going to come out of my mouth next so I can keep these motherfuckers alive now. I'm resuscitating them little by little. That woman that was staring at me like I kicked a kid in the mouth, she's laughing now. She's actually giggling at my jokes, even though I throw a pussy joke at her. And now you think about the next move, and if you could think of your next 3 steps that quickly, you got them. We'll worry about the next 3 steps when we get to them. Let me worry about the next 3 steps. Now I know exactly where the fuck I'm going.
You know, I started hanging around comedians when I met Sam Kinison. We had the same management, you know, as when I was in Whitesnake. We have, you know, we share a lot, you know, as far as the business goes. And I got to play on his record because of that. Because we had, you know, the management called me and say, hey, you know, can you be tomorrow at the studio and do this song, Wild Thing with Sam? And then from that on, and, you know, we became really close friends, hung out with the family, you know, Malika, his wife, and Sabrina, and, you know, so we have a really, really strong relationship. But along with Sam came all the other comedians. You know, he had the Outlaws of Comedy.
Shuby,
you know, Carl Laveau, Alan Stevens, you know, all of that.
Lenny Clark.
Yeah, all of that. And Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy.
Not Schubert.
Jimmy Schubert. Jimmy Schubert. Yeah. And so, you know, that was kind of like my introduction to comedy world. You know, and I gotta tell you, you know, I saw a lot of shows with Sam. He used to go and try his material in Palm Springs, and I used to have a house out there. And Sam would love to rent out Elvis's home in Palm Springs. So he would stay there and then go down to the local comedy club and just do shows, you know. Then I would bring him over to my house and mess them up with like these drinks that I used to make, scorpions. And then he would do the next show, it's just blood or completely gone, you know. Meanwhile, Sabrina was recording everything. You know, and I really gained so much respect for you guys, because you guys you can't really deflect. There's just you with a microphone and the audience. You got nothing. You don't have a drum solo. Some shit going wrong. Okay, drum solo or guitar solo or a wah-wah. You don't even have a wah-wah. You know, it's like it's you with your dick in your hand up there in front of the stage. One light on you most of the time and the audience, and that's it. And it's not like, you know, like you have a bit, you know, like we know how to pace our set list, because we're going to put like a song that the crowd is familiar with, and then we throw another hit, like 3 songs into the set, then we finish with a strong song, and then the encore is the song everybody's waiting for, you know. So, you know, we kind of like we're holding the audience, you know, like you know, at ransom here, because they want to hear certain songs. With you guys, you come up with new stuff all the time.
I'm not laughing at you.
No, I know.
Fucko just fell over.
You know?
He passed out. He went.
Yeah, I know that. Or he's been passing out for a while.
Yes, he did. Yes,
You know.
he did. Oh, what am I going to do with him? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
buddy.
Oh, that's all right.
People
No.
passing out
Yeah.
and shit. It's 2016.
So you know, like I was saying, I'm really, really impressed with how you guys are able to every single night be able to handle that. It's amazing. I mean, I saw Sam get up on stage doing like 2 shows in one night. Like he did a whole weekend at Caesar's Palace in the big ballroom, and the second night he hadn't slept from the night before. You know, he stayed up partying, and he would just hit the stage. Now, we were hanging out in his suite, and we knew how messed up he was. But as soon as he hit that stage, he was spot on, and he had the crowd right there. The crowd was cheering for him even before he opened his mouth. You know, like what you're saying. You know, you could just grunt into the microphone, and people would be fucking laughing.
The night I got to Caesar's Palace, if I went up the first night, I know there's a package waiting for me. Afterward, that's the best show you're ever going to see. If I know there's a suite, I know that 99% somebody's going to lick my nuts and put a firecracker in my asshole. I know I'm going to party with Rudy and God knows who else. Those 2 shows are going to be the best show you've ever seen in your life. But I got to be in bed by 5. And I got to get up, and I got to sweat a little bit, and I got to write. And the first show that night is going to be a little rusty. the second show is going to be great. If I stay up all night and go to the show, you better give them their money back. You better give them their money back.
Yeah.
Like, I would never even plan a binge if I had a big show the next night. An open mic, a $50 show, yeah, fuck that. I couldn't even, because my heart wouldn't be connected with my head. There were so many times in Miami I was committed to the weekend, and it was so horrible, Rudy, because I went from a comic with emotion to a press here. And I could see the audience knew it. They laughed, but it wasn't what the joke was, because there was no emotion in the joke. When we went to the Wilbur, I got a big-time anxiety attack when I first walked off the stage. There was a lot of people there, and if you ask Lee, the first 2 minutes at the Wilbur, I was very rigid. I didn't try to move around too much, so I didn't have to breathe that much, so I wouldn't pass out on stage in front of fucking 1,000 people. So the first 2 or 3 minutes, even if you listen to it, you'll feel my tone and everything. And all of a sudden, once I became animated, was when the room changed. Once the arms start moving and the whole fucking deal and pa, that's it. That's when I start pulling them in. But if I just stand there in front of the microphone like I'm going to recite the fucking proclamation, whatever the fuck that is, a proclamation, whatever, that Abe Lincoln, it's not going to work out for me. I got to move. I got to get involved. Little shit like that. I started doing this joke, and one day Lee pulled me over, and he goes, "Hey man, I like when you do this little thing," and that little thing gets a tremendous laugh. I did it one night on stage because I was high, and I had 8 people in the audience, and I was being myself, and you learn so much in 25 years, Rudy Sarzo. I don't have to tell you.
I know. Yeah.
I don't have to tell you. I love the guy that walks up to you now and goes, "Hey man, you my idol way back then, dude. I've been playing for 6 years. I played just like you," or whatever. And the first 10 minutes of the conversation is very interesting. But it's the next 10 minutes, he's kind of not putting you down, but he's talking in a way like he's trying to do something to you. Now, if you were back with Randy, God bless his soul, and Ozzy, you might have punched him in the fucking mouth, Rudy Sarzo. You know the type I'm talking about. But because you are who you are today, you look at him, you say a prayer for him, and as you walk away, you predict his future. You go, "I'll give this fucking bum 3 years." You don't tell nobody because you're a decent person. And you called it right every time, from the way they came up to you and approached you. Do you follow me? You ever had that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I get it, yeah.
It's but I love when a comic comes up to me and tries to speak a certain way to me, and 20 years ago I would have kicked him in the stomach, but knowing who I am today, I look at him and I could tell by his attitude where he's going to end up, just because he's moving too fast. I know before this even gets going, this is going to fall apart, and he's going to take him a few years to get back on this, because of this attitude that he's showing towards me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this for fucking 25 years. You've been doing it for 4, and somebody liked you at a festival. That's 2 different fucking worlds. I've been banging it out at the store for fucking 15 fucking years, following Paul Mooney and Joe Rogan, and tonight I got to follow Ari Shaffir. What do you think that's like? These guys are explosive in 15 fucking minutes. You go down there and follow fucking Dalia. See what happens to you. You go down there with a bass, with a fucking chick that lights herself on fire, and they'll just look at you, Rudy Sarzo. That's how strong Dalia, you learn how to navigate yourself after all those acts. You could do 2 things. You could take that energy that they left on stage, do something good with it, talk well about the comic that just came up, and flow with his energy, and now you stole the show. Or you could fight that energy and try to be a fucking wise ass and try to say something sarcastic about that act, and the audience shuts down on you like a fucking Like, I don't even know what to compare it to. I'm so fucking high right now.
It happens in music too, because we got, at some point you're the opening band, or at some point you are the headliner. So it's exactly the same thing. The opening band, sometimes you can ride on the energy of the opening band, because the opening band actually gets to warm up, the audience. And then actually, matter of fact, if the opening band has a certain energy, you might shift your opening song to maybe a higher energy, so you can actually match the way that they ended, because the last thing you want to do is to drop down the energy. If they really end up with a high energy song, then all of a sudden you come in with like a mid-tempo, even though it might be a well-known song, but all of a sudden you're like bringing all that energy down, and you don't want to do that.
I've been to concerts so fucking fired up, Rudy, and the band has come out. The opening band has been fucking fantastic. The headliner has come out. He opened up tremendous. There's lights. The guitars are great. The drums are on fire. It sounds like the album. They got you. The second song is fantastic. The third song is fantastic. And then somebody's ego gets in the way. And they do 2 or 3 ballads in a row. Yeah. No, 2 ballads, and this is a song off our new album. Well, you just fucking stabbed me in the neck, you fuck. Okay? I don't want to hear a song from the new album, and I don't want to hear this fucking ego fest that you did. You had me. You fucking had me. I'll tell you what band killed me like that. Nazareth. I went to see Nazareth June 6th. Of maybe 81 at the Palladium. They did a version of Cocaine acoustic. Oh yeah, so like with me and them. Yeah. But after that, I don't know what happened. They opened up with Hair of the Dog, Now You're Messing with a Son of a Bitch. That just blows the room up. Oh, yeah. You open up with that song, the room just goes fucking ape shit. Yeah. Then they did another big energy one. Forget about it. Then they did that one. Let's switch up the gears a little bit. This is one of our favorites from Eric Clapton. And they had fucking like 6 guitars. Everybody had a guitar. And dog, I gotta tell you right off the bat, it was brilliant. Brilliant. I wasn't even that much into Eric Clapton. I knew the song Cocaine. It was brilliant. And then they started singing a song about a girl they met in Cleveland. And after that, you just want to pull the plug. You can't do this to me. You can't do this to the girl in Cleveland. We're having a good time here. My friend just bought a gram of blow. And you want to fucking throw this nightmare into the show.
I've been in a few bands that during our opening band stage, in our career, I would say it was pretty frightening to have to follow. With Ozzy, we were opening up for Saxon in Europe. And it was a 45-minute set. And I got to tell you, it was the most intense 45 minutes of your life. And for anybody to have to follow that, I don't care who you are, it was just like, how are you going to do this, right? The next one was actually, with Quiet Riot, it was pretty good. Even though the headliners that we work with, they were, especially ZZ Top. ZZ Top was the hardest band ever to open up for, because it has the most dedicated audience. They're fanatic. They're there for ZZ Top. They don't care who you are. Like we were talking about, you don't care about who the opening band is, during a certain time. Then Whitesnake, we were an opening band. And I got to tell you, by the time you finish with Still of the Night, I think it's pretty much over. I don't care who's going to follow the band. It was that strong.
It was that strong.
That strong.
Okay, in the 45-minute... I was going to a lot of concerts back then. I'm trying to write a book now, and I don't even know. There's parts of me that wants to break it down, but there's parts of me that are the highlight of my concert career. What the fuck was I going to ask you? God damn it.
Oh, you was talking about 45 minutes of Ozzy.
In those days, in the 45-minute set,
yeah.
I mean, you guys turned the shades down, and you opened up with Mr. Crowley, right?
We opened up with I Don't Know. Actually, it was the Diary of a Madman tour version, because the record had just come out in Europe.
Okay.
So we were probably opening up with Over the Mountain, which is really intense anyways.
This was the second tour, or the one
Yeah.
I saw in New York City?
The one after the Palladium.
Okay, no,
So-
the one I saw after New York, the one I saw at the Palladium.
Yeah.
You either opened up with I Don't Know.
We
whatever.
opened up with I Don't Know,
I Don't
but
Know.
that was the following
Okay.
tour.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was when I saw you at the Palladium. What
Yeah.
did you open up with? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was no over the. He did something for he fucking stopped too.
Yeah.
No, but the Palladium.
Yeah.
It was you guys headlining.
Yeah, we did Believer,
Right.
and we did
Right.
Flying High Again.
Flying High Again,
from
Flying
the,
High
from the
Again.
record that was not released yet. Yeah.
But that was longer than a 45 minutes. Set,
Oh yeah,
right?
no, because
Yeah,
we
that was-
were headlining, but I'm talking about 45
All right,
minutes.
45 minutes. Tell
I
me
said-
the 45 minute set
Oh.
in the beginning.
You know
I
what?
could just see, again, I
Yeah.
could just see the first three and the side A.
Yeah.
Side A is a fucking monster, and
Yeah.
side B is a monster.
Yeah, the ballad would have been just Revelation Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, which is
And
tremendous.
It goes into Steal Away.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah,
No,
it was just insane. 45 minutes. So what they did is they shortened Tommy Aldridge's drum solo,
tremendous.
you know,
that was too much.
and it was packed with like high intensity playing and music. And, yeah, it was insane. Yeah, and it was great because we would get off the stage by 9 o'clock, the latest, 8:30 maybe. Get into rental cars and with Tommy, Randy, and me.
Yeah, but don't
Hit the Autobahn, and we'll be in the next town before the club opened in the hotel. So we were just partying right after the show in the next city, Germany. We're just getting on the Autobahn. Tommy is an incredible driver, so we would hit about 160 miles an hour, and we were like in less than 2 hours in the next town. Yeah, insane. Party our asses off.
I still remember the back of the Palladium that night. I got there with my buddies, and I knew a spot. There was a place that you walked in, there was a fence, but there was a cut in the fence. And you knew that if you walked back there, you walked behind one of the buildings, and that's where the cool people that were going to the concert would party. That's where there'd be like 6 or 7 broads, and the people were doing little bumps and shit. And I still remember going back there and then walking in, and Jesus, that was so long ago. I was a fucking kid, Rudy Sarzo. I was a fucking kid, a fucking lost kid, with 4 other fucking lost motherfuckers.
Was Pino there?
Huh?
Pino?
No, by that time Pino
Crowley was there.
had moved to Miami. Crowley was there.
Yeah.
I went with this kid, Didi Quintero. Now, I don't know if it was that concert or the second one at the Meadowlands where we leave the show and his shirt is ripped. And we go, Didi, what happened? He goes, let me tell you what happened. I'm sitting there minding my own business, and some guy come behind me and started dry humping me. So I go, what did you do? He goes, I just beat the fuck out of him right there in the show, and they threw me out. I've been waiting for you guys to get out for a ride home. I don't know if it's the Palladium or the other one. Oh, my God. But I had seen, like... So this is... When you came to the Palladium, was 81 or 82?
81.
Okay, so 81. So at that time, I had seen 3 or 4 shows in the Palladium. Listen, I don't go to a lot of shows, Rudy. I almost went to Sabbath, but we had to go to New York that night. But I'll tell you how lucky I was, man. I was lucky enough to see. I asked you when you walked in here what that place seated. And you told me about 12 to 1,500, maybe 1,600 that were standing. I was in there for 4 shows that are still etched in my mind. That it's the reason why I saw such great shows there. That I know in my heart nothing will beat it, Rudy Sarzo. I saw Iron Maiden there in the first album with Paul Diano. They went in there and opened up for Judas Priest, I think. Then I went back there and saw Def Leppard open up for Judas Priest another time. Then I went in there and saw you fucking savages in there. Then I went in there and saw AC/DC with Brian Johnson on the second night of their fucking tour at the Palladium in New York City. It was August 2nd, and it was 1,000 fucking degrees. Do you understand me? When I went home that night, even after the bus ride, my jeans were fucking drenched, Rudy Sarzo. And I went to see James Brown there also. And they were all not about the show. The shows were always money. Judas Priest in a small place. You guys with Randy Rhoads. in a fucking theater. I want America to think about what I'm talking about here. Think about when you go to a movie theater now. When you go to a fucking big movie theater now, that was the Palladium. I don't remember if they had a balcony. I think they did. There's video on YouTube from that show. I don't remember if they had a balcony. But the sound was sensational in there. Rudy, I got to fucking sit there with my jaw dropped. I saw my buddy from the fucking projects in 64th Street take his hat off, throw it up on stage at Angus Young. Angus Young bent over, picked it up, put it on, and then threw it back in the audience. Me and my homies from Jersey almost fucking died. You understand me? I mean, I don't need that. I saw shit in there that was just too good. People freak out now when I talk to people and I go, I went to see Ozzy at the play. I'm like, no shit. It wasn't the show. It was the experience. Me and these two guys probably went and copped a gram of blow. And we used to get that. In those days, you got the bottle with the spoon at the end. We used to go to Union City, to East West, and they sold drug paraphernalia. They're still there, Rudy Sarzo.
Back in the day, we had the McDonald's coffee little spoons.
Oh, my God.
You never used one of those?
I never went to McDonald's in those days.
We went there just for the spoons.
When you're doing blow, who goes to McDonald's? You know what I'm saying? Rudy, always a pleasure to see you, man.
You too, Coco.
Oh, my God.
Happy Thanksgiving, bro.
Oh, yeah, happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to read some ads and I'll get you out of here. Give me some ads, Lee. What the fuck, my brother? Lee is jacked up tonight. To the gills.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he is. Don't make believe. Yes, you're jacked.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, my God. Uncle Joey put the Maluk on you, the Thanksgiving Maluk. I guarantee Lee will start cooking that turkey tonight. By the time Lee's wives get home, Lee will have the turkey marinated and in the fucking oven like a good soldier with a little suit on. He'll be ready to go with attention. But listen, bro, you wake up this turkey. You slow cook that motherfucker. Get up every hour on the hour. Throw a piece of butter on it and rub it in there with your little fingers with a glove on. Who's better than you? You know how juicy that turkey will be? You do that fucking thing you learned from all those chef shows. You stick the fucking needle in it. I know you got a show on DVR or you go to Yelp and they teach you how to get the thing. You stab the fucking turkey with the stick and it tells you if it's cooked on the inside. Don't look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. 4 years of college. This is what I got to live with. You don't know how to make a turkey. I'm telling you, he's going to get him and his girlfriend sick. They're going to fuck that turkey up.
No, Paul is making it. Paul is
okay,
making
yeah, you listen to me. How many turkeys Paul will make in their life?
As many as me.
Okay, so you trust somebody? Why don't you might as well trust me making your fucking turkey.
I would not trust you making a turkey for many reasons.
You might as well get a gun and fucking shoot yourself because somebody's going to get sick. Listen, on the way home tonight, stop at Rouse and get the little thing that you stab the turkey with and see what the temperature of the turkey. We're telling him, Rudy Sarzo, please. He thinks I'm fucking around.
Temperature of the turkey. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. Oh, Jesus Christ, Rudy Sarzo. I thought you were like a half a chef. I thought somewhere in your illustrious career you had a job somewhere in the back.
I did. Well, making veggie burgers.
No, we don't talk about that shit on the show. We don't talk about that shit on the show. Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about veggie burgers on the church, all right? Listen, you know me, dog. I don't fuck around with you people. I was telling somebody the other day, I was talking to Shane and my main man, Matt Lotman. We were getting coffee the other day, and they had asked me about underwear, MeUndies. I said, listen, MeUndies is fantastic. Why cut this shit? It's the holidays. I'm going to tell you why MeUndies was fantastic. A year and a half ago, I got surgery. Nah, not this time. Was it this time, Lee? Yeah. No. Yeah. This time I got surgery, and I couldn't take a shower for a day, and I took a shower before I went to the hospital, and the next day I went to take a shower, and as a man, we always take a scratch and we sniff, and it was clean. It was not even sweaty because MeUndies fabric is made by Modal, M-O-D-A-L, and it pulls away the fucking moisture from your skin. And I'm telling you this off the fucking cuff. You understand me? Picture a world where putting a new pair of underwear isn't just fresh. You're stepping into a better day. Think about it. Underwear is the first thing you put on and the last thing you take off. Why would you settle for anything less than the best feeling underwear on the planet? MeUndies focus solely on producing the most comfortable underwear you'll ever experience. My friends at MeUndies sent me a few pairs a while back, and now I can't imagine wearing anything else. It really makes me each day that much better. For the price of 2 cocktails, MeUndies will deliver your new favorite pair of underwear right to your doorstep. Better day guaranteed. Try them on. If they're not comfortable and they're the best feeling undies you've ever had, they'll refund you and let you keep the first order for free, all right? Included in the price is the sweet touch of Moldor, what I was talking about. A special fabric made with the best-in-class raw materials that are scientifically proven to be 3 times softer than cotton. This is what I'm talking about. These uber cozy undies are sold exclusively at the MeUndies website, where you enjoy free shipping to the U.S. and Canada. Who's better than you? And for limited time, everyone in the audience gets 20% off their first order. But you have to go to a special URL, MeUndies.com/Joey. Again, MeUndies.com/Joey. With the MeUndies Better Day Guarantee, you have nothing to lose, so don't wait any longer. Go to MeUndies.com/Joey right now for 20% off your first order. That's MeUndies.com/Joey, okay? Listen, the holiday season's coming. Lee, there's days I don't talk to Lee no more. Ever since the girlfriend moved in, I don't talk to Lee. And I understand.
Wait, we talk every day.
And I understand. Don't justify it, Lee. And I found out today. He came to my house. I went to smoke pot in the backyard. And as we were walking to the backyard, he saw my toilet. And he saw the portable fucking bidet. And he stopped. And he got kind of pale. Like all of a sudden he had to take a shit. And I lured him outside. And he came over and he ate. But I could see he had to go home. He was acting fucking funny. And he left. You know why he's been acting creepy lately? Ever since he got the bidet. He doesn't answer the phone no more. And I don't blame him. Rudy Sarzo, you ever have a bidet?
I grew up with bidet in Cuba.
In Cuba. That's big in Cuba.
Yeah.
My mom had one in North Bergen.
Absolutely.
Tell him.
You must have a bidet.
It's a fucking tremendous thing.
I agree with that statement.
We gotta get
Not
you
only
one.
for men, but for women, too.
No. On you.
Keeps everything clean.
No. And you get the scrotum. You got everything. There's no bacteria. Listen, bidets are making a comeback. Thank you to HelloTushy.com. That's why I love these people. Bidets are back. You don't know what a bidet is because you've been living in a fucking cave for 20 years. Bidets, they spray your butt clean with water. I grew up with a bidet in North Bergen in my house on Given Terrace. They are stupendous, tremendous, healthy. They keep you nice down there. And thanks to Tushy, with the sleek bidet that clips onto your existing toilet. And it sprays your butt completely solid with fresh water to get your mufflers clean so you're not sitting on bacteria, you're causing hemorrhoids, yeast infection, and most importantly, you're sitting there causing rotten ass. You ever sit there on the computer 3-4 hours and you're thinking what's going on with the world? Before you think about that stuff, think about your muffler and what's going on down there. How you ate a cheeseburger for lunch. What could be developing down there? If you got Hello Tushy, this shit don't happen, all right? And it's environmentally one of the best things going on because you don't need no more paper, all right? So that means more trees, and it uses 1 pint of fresh water. Number 2, Tushy just came out with towels on the website, too. They're fucking tremendous. So Tushy stands behind their product, 60-day guarantee, all right? And here's the best. They got a white or a gold Tushy. But here's the beauty of this stuff. Right now is the season. This stuff is fantastic. It's not going to cost you arm or leg. Go to HelloTushy.com right now. I'm telling you right now, this is the stocking stuff you dream about. You all know some fucking chubby dude. You ever look at somebody and you go, you know what? I could tell. I'm no fortune teller, but that guy's asshole stinks. You ever look at somebody that's sitting there, you're like, I know either his feet or his ass stink. I do this kind of judging when I'm bored. Why take the chance? Make his fucking day. Go to HelloTushy.com right now /church and get 10% off your order. All right. Again, HelloTushy.com /church and get 10% off your order. And that's it, and that's that, dog. The special comes out December 8th. Go to CISO TV. Code Joey, Joey, get 2 months for free. Listen to me. This is my Thanksgiving. I need for you people to do this for me. I don't ask you for dick. I try to get your muffler clean. And I try for you to stay sexy when you're wearing underwear. So who's better than me? And don't forget On It for the holidays. Another stocking stuffer. You go to onit.com right now. Get some Alpha Brain. You're all fucked up. You're robots. You want to leave your wife for an 18-year-old that plays the fucking piano. Who gives a fuck? Get your head together. You need some On It, cocksucker. And they got a money-back guarantee. Boom. What's the code?
Church.
CHURCH. 10% off delivered to your house. One more time for my people on it. You know me. I love Tushy with all my heart. Go to Tushy.com. HelloTushy.com. And look at the great stuff. CISO TV. I need you to do this for Uncle Joey. And on it, cocksuckers. My brother, Mr. Rudy Sarzo. My pride and joy when I was a kid. I was in a dark corner. And he took me out of it just by being fucking Cuban. And don't forget tomorrow night in Irvine. Boom! 11:23, 8 o'clock show. And I'll see you motherfuckers in Portland, Oregon, December 1st. Start the month off on a good week, December 1st to the 3rd, and I come back and I celebrate Santa Barbara. Who the fuck you think you're dealing with?
December 4th?
It's Santa Barbara, right?
December 4.
Well, who the fuck you think you're dealing with? Some novice here? I'm making up stories here. Have a great Thanksgiving. Me and Lee want to tell you we love you with all our heart. Thank you for supporting the church. Without you guys, we have dick, man. Thank you for making our world complete, man. Thank you for listening and for being loyal. You know who the fuck you are. You don't need for people to tell your fucking name and shit. All right? I'll see you guys next week. Stay black. Ciao. What do you think about that, Lisa? We gonna put music on, Lee? What's your pick? Oh, okay.